Hi, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome once again to our uh, our place of worship, our place of meeting, and we're grateful that you've joined us. You've decided to come back and see us, and we're very happy, and we welcome you into our home. Um, I shouldn't say this is our home. This is our getaway. This is our hiding place or whatever, because you might be able to identify our location based upon the the situation of our room here. So again, we're wonderfully grateful for you being with us today. Um, Today being a special Shabbat, it is Shabbat number 3 as we count up to Pentecost. Remember, we don't count down; we count up. Since the Feast of First Fruits, we count up. We count up to number 7, and the day after the 7th Sabbath is Shavuot, Pentecost. So in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be giving you teachings regarding Shavuot as well, and preparing us for that great Moed, which will be the day after the 7th Sabbath. So here we are, 3rd Sabbath up, and we continue to count. We can count the days, but Shavuot and Shabbatot are very similar words of of uh, of stopping, giving the eternal Yahuwah our full attention. And again, as we do every week, I need to do a little evaluation of our terminology. If you're a first time person here, um, and again, we use terminology that is biblically accurate and faithful. We've had a lot of things. Last week, I talked about a lot of the pollution that we've inherited from history and tradition, the traditions of man, which Mark 7, Messiah is very clear that the traditions of man can often be at odds with the tradition established in the word itself. So we try to be as faithful as we can to these things. We're not sticklers for details unless we use the term stickler in the positive sense, that we don't want to let any error creep in, as we talked during Passover and Feast of Unleavened Breads, that chametz, the leaven, is a dangerous thing. We let a little in, a lot comes in, or the little becomes a lot. So we also saw that within certain established communities there will be some dissension from time to time, and the word tells us that has to happen in order for the true elect to emerge. So if we're untested, we're unproven, and we're incapable of knowing where we stand. So sometimes we need a little adversity so that we can appreciate it. Something that seems like a setback can actually be a setup for something good to be learned, something to be gleaned from. So we move forward. And so again, our terminology, I get back into that. We refer to the Messiah's name as Yeshua, which is the Hebrew name of Messiah, which means the salvation of the eternal Yah. And that's why he was named Yeshua, because he was the salvation of the eternal. Unique to this very day. He is unique in every conceivable way that we can use that term. There's none like him. But we will one day see him as he is, because we will be like him in our glorified state after the resurrection. So again, that's another whole teaching. We refer to the name of the eternal as Yah or Yahuwah, as it's listed in the word, as it's in the scriptures. Adon, which is Lord Adonai. Some of you might be familiar with that. And we refer to the Brit Hadashah, the new covenant. We refer to the law as Torah, which is instruction, and so on and so forth. We try to be faithful to the word. The Tanakh is the better understanding of what the Old Testament is. Torah, Nevi'im, Chatuvim, the law, the prophets, and the writings. TNCH. So together, it's an acronym meaning Tanakh, the gathering of those elements in the Tanakh. And again, we talk about Shabbat an awful lot, not because we have weekend plans. And you notice a lot of people don't go to work one day and say, hey, I kept the Sabbath. And that's not the case at all. Shabbat can mean rest, but more importantly, for what we teach, our perspective is that Shabbat is to restrain from movement, restrain from actions, and it's used very often in the context of sin. And so that's what we emphasize, that therefore Shabbat, to be a keeper of Shabbat, means that we refrain from sin. We don't say, oh, I'm a sinner saved by grace. In other words, I am currently a sinner. Yeah, I lie. Oh, yeah, I cheat from time to time. Yeah, I lusted. Well, you got to get over yourself, because the eternal Yah is investing in you. He's giving you his Ruach. You've been purchased at a great price. So you have to come across as his faithful ones. And we're going to look into that today as we talk about the faces of the eternal Yah, a very interesting subject. And I hope you're going to get something good out of this. And we're moving forward with a lot of very interesting teachings, a lot of very interesting subjects. And if there's a subject that you feel needs to be tackled by somebody, drop us a line, and we'll give you the contact information as we move forward, going ahead with our teaching in our classes and so on. So again, Shabbat is to stop, refrain from untoward behavior. So when we think of a Wednesday afternoon, we have to be Shabbat minded. We have to stop. We have to refrain. So a lot of people are really behave themselves on the Sabbath. Oh yeah, I'm a good Shabbat boy, or a good Sunday Christian, and figure any other day of the week is perfectly cool to, oh, I messed up again. It's just me, little weak me. Whereas the eternal Yahuwah has invested himself in us, given us a spirit, and has given us his grace in order that we can keep the Torah, keep his commandments. If you love me, keep my commandments. Yeshua said that. And when he talks about his commandments, it's perfectly in line with what is in the Torah, what is in the Tanakh. In fact, he is ever present throughout the Tanakh as the Logos, as the Malach Elohim, the angel of Elohim, the messenger, so to speak. So let us be faithful in whatever our endeavors are. We're faithful in our jobs. We try not to take 20-minute breaks when we're given 15. We try to punch out at the right time instead of 5 minutes early. We got to be faithful. Whatever we do, whatever we endeavor to do, we be a good neighbor. We be a good employee. We be a good employer. If we have people under us working for us, we treat them well. We treat them like family. And so we must go forward with that mindset of faithfulness. And so one of the verses that I try to keep us mindful every week with regards to Shabbat is from Exodus, the book of Shemot, chapter 20, verse 11, where the Eternal speaks to Moshe, Moshe being Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher. Okay, and the Eternal says to him, speak to the Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, saying, above all, in other words, top priority, my Shabbatot, my Sabbaths, plural, because there's the weekly Sabbath, and there's 7 annual Sabbaths also. Okay, you shall keep my Shabbatot, my Sabbaths, for it, the concept of Shabbat, it is consistent throughout. It is a time to stop and get serious and be faithful. It is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. It is an acknowledgement that we're on the same page. We are echad, we are one. It's a sign between me and you. Ot is the word for sign, which is a banner, which is a declaration between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the eternal Yahuwah who sanctifies you. So when you do this, we establish a sign, we establish a credible link with the eternal, and by doing so, we acknowledge that he is the one who sanctifies us, and he sanctifies us with Shabbat. And we see that in the book of Isaiah 56 and also 58, which talks about when we find delight in Shabbat, we will ultimately find delight in him, the giver of Shabbat. Okay, so he blessed the Shabbat day and he made it holy, he made it kadosh. We see that in Exodus chapter 20, verse 11, on the Devarim, the 10 words, which we will be reading together in just a little bit. And we have a couple of scripture readings for today, and we have some eager folk. Michael, are you there too?
Yes.
All right. A very solid, yeah. Excelente. So we have 3 readers, and we will be reading the words and little commentary, and then I'm going to go into my message, and then we're going to go into the contact information. Okay. So there's a structure to what we do. All right. So we will make preparations for that. And as we speak our scriptures, it sounded nice and clear, but we speak slowly and we make sure, in spite of our enthusiasm. Okay, the track is open. Okay, I think that's lap one, so I'm hoping that that's the end of that. So bear with us. We are in a populated area. You know, we're not in the middle of the woods off the graph, so to speak. Okay. So here we go. We're preparing for this, and we will read and we will speak clearly, and hopefully we won't have any problems with the sound this week. We had a little issue, so you're going to be plugging in and listening to that, right, Regina?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When the ark would travel, Moshe would say, "Arise, O eternal Yahweh, let your enemies be scattered. Let them that hate you flee from before you. For from Zion shall go forth Torah, and the word of the eternal Yahweh from Jerusalem. And blessed be he who in his holiness gave Torah to his people Israel." And I mention this every week, that he is the giver of Torah. He is the giver of all that is good. All good and perfect gifts come from the Father of lights, in which there is no gradation, there's no variation, there's no, he's in a bad mood today. No, it's consistent. It's consistent. It never changes. The same yesterday, today, and forever. And again, emphasizing Noten HaTorah. He's the giver of Torah. He's the one who gives us this wonderful blessing of his word. And he always gives. You can't outgive him. He is always the one who provides truth and in our needs. And when things are going well, things are going poorly, he is always the one that's there to bolster our position and give us strength and support. Ki mitzion de'etzei Torah udvar Yahuwah me Yerushalayim. From Zion shall go forth the Torah. The Torah does not come from New Jersey. I'm sorry for any New Jerseyites who might be watching. The Torah does not come from Sweden. The Torah does not come from Bangladesh. Yeah, all perfectly good locations. But Torah, Echad, the one Torah, comes from Mitzion. Ki Mitzion de Torah, for from Zion shall go forth the Torah. U Dvar Adonai Yahuwah Yerushalayim, and the word of the Eternal from Yerushalayim. So this actually came from Yerushalayim. So we literally have this fulfilled before us today. And you who are joining us, we are Echad. We minister to each other, and we come and we say Amen, and Amen, and Amen, Amen. Baruch et Yahuwah HaMivorach. Baruch atah Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu michol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Yahuwah noten haTorah. Bless the eternal Yah, the blessed one. Blessed is the eternal Yah, the blessed one for all eternity. Le'olam va'ed. And blessed are you, O eternal Yah, our Elohim, melech haolam, sovereign of the universe. The word literally means beyond the vanishing point, beyond infinity. The king of all that has ever been, who has chosen us from all peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, O eternal Yah, giver of Torah. Amen. Noten HaTorah. And again, he has chosen us from all peoples. So consider yourself extremely blessed that you have allowed him to speak to your heart, to your mind, your thoughts, your thinking, and has allowed himself to become ingratiated within us. We said Amen to him. We said Ken to him. We said yes. And he continues to work in our hearts and into our thoughts and in our minds. So again, we give him blessings and praises. Amen.
Amen.
And at this point, we go to our scripture readers. And who would like to be first today? I think that's usually Patricia.
Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Today's scripture is Psalm 32. Blessed is
32, Psalm 32.
whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man whose sin the Eternal does not count against him, and in whose spirit is no deceit. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was sapped, as in the heat of summer. Then I acknowledged my sin to you, and did not cover up my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Eternal, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. Therefore, let everyone who is godly pray to you while you may be found. Surely when the mighty waters rise, they will not reach him. You are my hiding place.
Yes.
You will protect me from trouble and surround me with songs of deliverance.
Amen.
I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you and watch over you. Do not be like the horse or the mule, which have no understanding, but must be controlled by bit and bridle, or they will not come to you. Many are the woes of the wicked, of the Eternal's unfailing love surrounds man who trusts in him. Rejoice in the Eternal, and be glad, you righteous. Sing, all you who are upright in heart. This psalm comes from the great anguish of David's heart as he groaned under the guilt he had. It teaches us, the blessings of forgiveness. We need to feel the burden of guilt. The blessings of Elohim's forgiveness are great. There are many blessings and happiness for the person who experiences Elohim's forgiveness. We have a clear conscience before Elohim. We have him as a refuge. We have his instruction, and we have great joy. You can be free from guilt before Elohim today and every day. There is no greater blessing than that of having your transgressions forgiven, your sins covered, and your iniquities not counted against you by Elohim. Thank you.
Amen.
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 Amen. And again, he forgives us of sins. He cleans the slate, not that so we can dirty it up again and get our daily allotment of juicy tidbits so we can then confess again tonight or tomorrow. We need to keep that slate clean. We need to keep it faithful and walk with him and let him influence our thoughts so that we don't get ourselves into trouble. Thank you. And we know that David lived a life that had a lot of conflict. And we're reading about him in 2 Samuel earlier today. And so let us be faithful and let us have a heart for the eternal. Amen. Yes, sir. Who's next?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes, sir.
Okie doke.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I'll be reading Philippians chapter 4.
Philippians 4. Philippians 4.
I'm reading in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Therefore, my brethren, dearly beloved, and longed for, my joy and crown, so stand fast in the eternal, my dear beloved. I beseech Egoias and beseech Syntyx, that they be of the same mind in the eternal. And I entreat thee, also, you yoke fellow, help those women which did bore me in the gospel, with Clement also and with others and fellow laborers, whose names are in the book of life. Rejoice in the eternal always. And again I say, rejoice. Let your moderation be known unto all men. Eternal is at hand. Be careful for nothing, but in everything be prayerful. Supplications, thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto Elohim. The peace of Elohim, which passeth all all understanding shall keep your heart and mind through Messiah the Yeshua. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think of these things. Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do, and the Elohim of peace shall be with you. But I rejoice in the Eternal greatly, that now at last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to be abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed, both be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Messiah, which strengthens me. Notwithstanding, ye have well done, that ye did communicate with my affliction. Now, ye Philippians, know also that in the beginning of the gospel, when I depart from Macedonia, no church communicates with me as concerning giving and receiving, but ye only. For even Macedonia, for even Thessalonica, he sent once and again unto my necessity, not because I desire your gift, but I desire fruit, that many abound to your account. But I have all and abound, I am full, having received of Epaphroditus the things which were sent for you from you, an odor of sweet smell, the sacrifice acceptable, well pleasing to Elohim. But my Elohim shall supply all your need according to his riches. Glory be Messiah Yeshua. Now, unto Elohim, our Father, be glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Salute every saint in Messiah Yeshua, the brethren which we are, with grace to you. All the saints salute you. Chiefly, they are of Caesar's household. The grace of our eternal Yeshua the Messiah be with you all. Amen.
Amen.
Paul to the Philippians. Stand fast, as he had said before, to preserve the relationship with Messiah, not allowing the Judaizers or the petitioners or bondmen to be of the uttermost. However, two yoke fellows, refer and identified friends of Paul, he would undoubtedly recognize the personal request of help. These two women became reconciled one another. Amen.
Amen.
Also, be careful for nothing, which means we do not need to be too constrained. We have to depend on Messiah. In all things, he will deliver to us. We don't have to think of anything as long as Messiah is with us, and we are very careful that we don't think of anything, because he will deliver and at all times replenish us with our needs. Amen.
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 Thank you.
Amen. He will meet our needs, yes. Okay. Michael?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was contemplating on my reading there, but I noticed that in your introduction here, you pretty much covered pretty much the essentials of what I wanted to say. So I was actually busy trying to do something else.
Sorry about that.
To thing there. But of course, my main point, of course, always would be regards to the name of the show. holy. And one thing I noticed that when you listen to other programs, even if they mention in regards to Shabbat, usually there's really not a lot of repetition or reminder in regards to Shabbat. This is why, say, for example, that the meaning of Shabbat is virtually obscure from many groups. Because, it means to rest on and so forth. Well, really, that's not the emphasis of Shabbat. And so I've been thinking for a while now that, of course, as we've spoken in the past, in regards to the meaning of Shabbat, the meaning of grace, say, for example, it's that the reason why people come up with the same answer and the same wrong answer is because by repetition they're hearing it all the time.
Always.
Unmerited favor, unmerited favor, unmerited favor. Rest, 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 rest. So, of course, from what I see, you just can't come out and just say, have 4 or 5 programs about, what Shabbat means, about what grace means, blah, 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 and that's it. And then you just spend the rest of the month, speaking about other things there. The best antidote I see is that to always repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And that somehow will try to, I guess, flush out, oh, no, it means peace, it means stop. Grace doesn't mean a merited favor, blah, 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 blah. Right, because hey, man, the guy said this, 5 million times already. Seems as if we need that constant reiteration in regard to what these things actually mean so that we can combat. And I don't know any other program that actually does it. So with that being said, let's go to some of our readings here. And everyone here is familiar with our readings here, which is, of course, a good thing here. Leviticus, with Leviticus. Leviticus chapter 56. Leviticus 56. Right, everyone knows where I'm going. And we start off here in verse to Isaiah 56. Sorry about that. Isaiah 56.
Okay, you lost me there for a second. Okay.
Yeah, Isaiah 56. Right. And we start off here. We all know here that I usually go to verse 2. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the son of man that lays hold on keeping the Sabbath, including it, from keeping his hand from doing any evil. So here we see here the main verse in the Tanakh in regards to the actual true meaning of Shabbat. But if we go back to the prior verse, right, we have an inkling in regards to what's going on here, right? Keeping his hand from doing any evil, of course, now comes in regards to salvation and righteousness. What does it say? Let's say of the eternal. Keep ye judgment, justice. And then he says this, my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wait a minute, I thought it was already revealed. I thought it was already something that we already had and already understood. The Israelites already had and understood there. But it does say here, and from what I saw here, the Hebrew's accurate there, near to come, so it's not here yet. And righteousness to be revealed, it's not there yet. So as you know, the old covenant was not the covenant of Messiah in regards to that being righteousness. Now, if you go, say, for example, to Romans chapter 3, say, for example, the righteousness of Elohim, right, is through what? Yeshua Messiah. Okay, that was not revealed in the old covenant. That was not revealed. As a matter of fact, you go to Deuteronomy chapter 6:25. Does it say there? These things will be what? Your righteousness in the sight of the people. Not his righteousness, but your righteousness. Okay, of course we know from, again, Hebrews chapter 8 there, and other statements there in the New Testament there. And of course, now the righteousness of Elohim, the righteousness of the law, right, has to come through Messiah. So, you see here, and again, it's the same thing we have here in Isaiah 53:11, of that by his knowledge shall he justify many. This is, of course, talking about Yeshua. By his knowledge he will justify many. Okay, well, he's not here yet at this point in time. But there are things that he knows that we need to know that we can be justified. Of course, we know, we've seen before in Matthew chapter 5, say, for example, you have heard it said, but I say to you, in regards to the initiation point, Robert has reiterated this many times. So we see here, in regards to the reiteration there, in regards to the purpose of Shabbat. Now, continuing there in the reading there, we go to, of course, now we just read Isaiah 56, 1 and 2. And matter of fact, let's continue in there, in regards to verses 4 and verses 6. Let's say the eternal the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, do the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant. Covenant. Same thing we see here in verse 6. Sons of the stranger that join themselves with the eternal, love the name of the eternal, be his servants, keeping the Sabbath and polluting it, take a hold of my covenant. Now, I was doing some searching, and I'm not sure, but I don't know of any other singular commandment that's referred to as my covenant. Robert, do you know of any?
Off the top of my head, no. We do know that Shomer Shabbat is keeping the covenant.
Right, because now I started doing the word search, and there were actually 280 times from what I see in this thing here. That I was looking through them. I was looking through, stealing and lying and marriage and so on and so forth. But no, I didn't see anything in regards to referring to as being a covenant. But what I see here is that Shabbat is so important that Shabbat represents the whole covenant, particularly in the proscriptive issues in regards to thou shalt not. There are two covenant commandments that make reference to what you shall do, like, say, for example, the fifth commandment, honor mother and father, say, for example, which will be proactive, proscriptive, rather than the prescriptive. The proscriptive is about not, but it's, it's like prescriptive. So, you think here, in regards to I'm going to jump around real quick to make this short here. But we know the Ark of the Covenant, right? Is really, in a sense, the Ark of the Sabbath. Now, regards there, because Sabbath is the only commandment I've seen that has a reference in regards to all of the commandments. All of the commandments. If you go here to Exodus 16. Exodus 16. And he makes a reference here in regards to the breaking of the Sabbath in regards to all of the commandments. And he says, well, how long will you do this? But really, in regards to them coming out of Egypt and so forth, this is actually the first one that they actually broke. When he says it's the how long will you now not keep those things in regards to his covenant? You see that here in Exodus 16. Let me see, where is it? The Exodus, where is it? How long will you keep my, will you not keep my things here? Let me try to get this real quick. This thing is somewhere, my thing, yeah, the come to pass today. This is the and it came to pass. Yes, verse 28. 6 days you shall gather it. On the seventh day, which is there should be none. 26, 27. They came out. Someone out to gather in the Sabbath. And he says, and the Eternal said, about how long will you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? Speaking in the plural. Like, because why do you keep my commandment and my law? But up until this time here, I don't see that they've broken any commandments since when they came out of Egypt. Okay? Remember, we're talking about just a few chapters before here. This is the first time where he says that you broke a commandment. He speaks about it in the plural, right? In regards to the Sabbath. Again, he said you broke my commandment. No, he broke his commandments and his laws. Again, speaking, of course, in the plural. Now, what's interesting, of course, everything is always interesting, of course, here, is that, the word break there has a specific meaning in regards to covenant. There are many different covenants, say, for example. But as I just spoken, that I don't see anyone that refers to a specific singular commandment. Of the Noachian covenant, say, for example, the covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I think the shewbread, the placing of the shewbread is a separate covenant. If you go, say, for example, here to Leviticus chapter 26, Leviticus 26 and verse 42, even here in regards to 26:15, in regards to the specific 24:8. In regards to here, he's putting now in regards to the shewbread, right? And Leviticus 24, verse 20, verse 5, pound flour, 2/10 deals, and like 2/10 of the tables, the frankincense a law. Say, for example, it's more of an ordinance. But here it's spoken of as it being a separate covenant. So covenant is used in many different ways. And the word covenant here, what I'm saying in Blue Letter Bible here, actually comes from bara, which means what? To cut. Right? To cut. Like in the beginning, Elohim, bara, the heavens and the earth. Cutting into. Now we know that essentially cutting is, if you're cutting from an external position to an internal position. Also, you're also reshaping something. Right? You're reshaping something. In the Hebrew, covenant is 1285, Strong's 1285, and the word bara, which it says that it comes from, is 1254, in regards to bara, to shape or to cut. And you're cutting from the outward to the inside, right? So there's an inward change, and also a reshaping, so that what you had previously no longer resembles what you have now. You're reshaping something now, putting it into a different focus, to a different formation. So, of course, there's much more, of course, to go through in these kind of things here. But again, I want Shabbat reiterated in regards to ceasing and stopping. We saw before back in Isaiah 56, verse 2, in Isaiah, in Isaiah, let's go back. We did look at Isaiah 56, 2 in regards to, my righteousness is to come, to be revealed. And then we didn't take a look at Isaiah 56, 13. If thou turn thy foot away from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy days, call it a delight, honorable, thou honor him, not doing thine own ways, or speaking thine own, finding thy own pleasure, speaking thine own words. Now, of course, we know in regards to, go back to 56, verse 2, in regards to what? Doing evil, that's not just one day a week. Because when you really look at it, it's not talking about here in regards to, because, just not doing my own thing on one day of the week doesn't do anything. I can be a serial killer. Okay, on this day I don't serial kill. I can be a rapist. On this day I don't. Stealing, lying, so on and so forth. On this one day I don't, but the other days I do. Of course, now you see now it makes no sense. Now we know the seventh, of course, the Sabbath is the seventh day. That's why it's continuous action there. So what are we talking here? We have to collate, put together verses 2 from 56 and verse 13. Not doing your own ways in regards to evil, finding your own pleasure in regards to evil, speaking your own words in regards to evil, and you put away from the Sabbath externally doing any evil. That's the emphasis. Now you have the righteousness being revealed now. Now you have here, going back to 56, about his righteousness now being revealed rather than just one day a week. And salvation is near to come rather than, again, just being one day a week. Again, doing any evil refers to every single day, and ceasing and stopping from sin. So we have here, in regards to the aspect, in regards to the covenant, again, we see here that the 10 words in Exodus 34, 27, and 28 are referred to, the 10 words, the words of the covenant. Wait a second, the Sabbath is the covenant, and I haven't seen any other singular command referred to as being the covenant. So you see how the Sabbath now really is in the forefront of Shabbat, of the aspect in regards to covenant, as we see also in Exodus 31, right, where he's now ending, and he gives what? The 10 commandments, what? The 10 words in the context of Shabbat. In the context of Shabbat. So of course we see the importance of Shabbat. So, again, I was looking, and Robert had already covered much of this already in his intro, which is excellent, which is what I want, because I want Sabbath to be reiterated every Shabbat, because otherwise it'll just be forgotten. Oh, Sabbath meant rest. Yeah, okay, yeah, he said that like 6 months ago, but he hasn't said it since. It means to stop or cease, so on and so forth. Because again, the reason why these things like Shabbat, meaning just rest, so on and so forth, or like grace is just a merit of favor. Why? It's because you have continuous action of people misrepresenting it, so that, everyone knows it's a merit of favor. Everyone knows it's just a day of rest, so on and so forth. Why? Because it's reiterated all the time. So we have to counterbalance that by reiterating the proper definitions and meaning all the time, to try to flush out this thing from people's in their minds there, that it just means this one thing because they hear it all the time. So, yes, we did some readings there, and of course these things I'll continue to expound on. But but that's again, Rob's already covered much of this, so that'll be my, I'll end it right there.
Okay. Well, thank you for another vintage visit with Michael Motley with his wonderful teachings on this and the teaching of Shabbat. Again, those who are, tired of, why would you keep talking about Sabbath? As I say, I reemphasize this every week, that every teaching, regardless of what the subject is, Shabbat permeates all these subjects. All subjects relate to the keeping of Shabbat and the holiness thereof. It's the one commandment that we're reminded that he made it, and it's up to us to remember it, to keep it. And Zachor, to recall, to remember, to reflect, is a constant theme throughout the Tanakh. And we are to reflect primarily that through Shabbat, remembering the idea of stopping and to heed. In the book of Acts, chapter 15, when it was decided with the Gentiles, those are the nations, what they needed to do to be physically circumcised or not. It was a big issue. So it was determined that they would do these ritual observances to be esteemed to be clean and to be kashrut. And the idea is that every Shabbat they would learn. So every Shabbat, even in the New Covenant writings, every Shabbat is set aside for us to learn. Every Shabbat, Torah is taught. So thereby keeping Shabbat, we have all the commandments. So within the context of this one, we have the all. Just like we have the uniquely begotten and the rest of us who were uniquely, well, not in the same uniqueness, but equally begotten. We're all sons and daughters of the Most High, those who have been begotten and been born into his kingdom. So with Shabbat and the idea, and throughout the book of Acts, the day of Shabbat is the day of the teaching, the day of Shabbat. Even in the Gentile communities, the nations who latched on says, hey, we can't wait to hear from you again next Shabbat, so we can again open up Torah. And Shabbat is the appropriate day of the revealing, of the unveiling, of the apocalypse, of the revelation. On the Lord's day, on the day of the Lord, that we see that the revelation took place. So we need to understand that this is not just one thing that creeps in from time to time, but to understand that every subject that we cover here relates to Shabbat. It relates to Shabbat, no matter what the subject is. It's like a mobile, okay? The center is Yahuwah, and he is the Adon Shabbat. He's the Lord of the Sabbath. He's the one who reigns on the Sabbath, and he is the Word eternal. He is the one who has always been. So again, the mobile, when you see a little child's mobile, everything revolves around that, the eternal and his covenant. Everything else relates to it. Otherwise, it's distant. That's why we have all this imagery given about being cut off from the community, or the unfruitful branches being severed and being pruned away, because it all connects. It has to connect to the source. He is the vine, we are the branches. We are the notzarim. We are the branches who have been ordained to be his mighty ones, his elect ones in these days that we live in. So again, it comes down to a proper relationship with the covenant, which Shabbat represents clearly. So thank you, Michael. Thank you for that. And it's good to hear your voice. And again, that we all keep this teaching as being very unique in many ways, because nobody else is really talking about it to this extent. It's bagel breakfast, and it's resting, taking naps, and what have you, but it's not really making a stand. And that's what Shabbat is all about. It's making a stand, hearing the word, putting everything off, because this is his day, and he's invited us to come in. Just like when I read the from Exodus, where above all you shall keep my Shabbat. It's a sign between me and you throughout your generations. So again, that link, we come together on Shabbat for that specific link to be emphasized, to be amplified, and to be acknowledged. And if we don't even acknowledge that, well, you do it on your Saturday, we do it on our Sunday, we do it on our Thursday. Do it whenever you want to do it, as long as you're doing it. But Shabbat is the day that's been established, that he made it holy, that we should be holy. We should remember to keep it holy. So we keep it by the doing of the word, by the hearing, and the hearing into the doing. Not just the hearers, but the doers of the word. Those are the ones who were justified before the eternal Yah. So, again, I don't mean to keep emphasizing the same things, but we need, through repetition, to learn the word. And that's why every week there'll be some verses that I shared last week, and there'll be some verses today that I'll be sharing further on next week. So there's a link. It's a chain, pericopes, as Jerry Feldman used to refer to them as, the pericopes, all connected, all working for the common good. Okay, so we begin our subject. With,
Robert?
yes.
Can I say one thing else?
Just one. I think you just did.
Okay.
That was the one thing. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, that was it?
What you just said. Can I say one more thing? That was the one more thing. It's like when somebody says, "Can I ask you a question?" You say, "Well, you just did." Anyway, you're one more thing. Go ahead.
I got you. You know that day job. You might want to hang on to that. That was really.
This is my day job. Okay.
Right. Yeah, there is one thing I wanted to mention here.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, it came to my mind, and now I have to find it. Oh, I think I have it here. Yes. I guess for those who've known me, I'm always a stickler for learning and development and moving forward and so on and so forth. Realize in the past, remember I said that, like in reference, like, you shall be holy for I am holy, say, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And that, there's no distinction, there's no change, there's no blah, 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 blah. Well, in actuality, I found something here in Dr. Walt's book of Greek grammar here. And if we just take a look real quick, because, again, when I find something that I find that I said something that has error in it, right, I want to bring that to the forefront and let people know. Yeah. So we have here take a look at Hebrews 12:10. But he disciplines us for our benefit that we might share in his holiness. And Dr. Wallace points out that this is an instance of a partitive direct object. When it's used of a different case, say the genitive, it means as a whole. So then, as we just say real quick, with the participation that believers can have in, he says here, God's holiness is not complete, but derived and partial. Okay? And by using the genitive, it seems to reflect this. So it seems here that I said in the past, you shall be holy, for I am holy. And I hold my hands up in a different, not even, but uneven. You shall be holy, and then put, our hand below or above, or so on and so forth. But it says here, regarding, now it's interesting. Again, we'll just open up on Mr. Wood. But really, the distinction is really undiscernible in regards to the Creator, and say, for example, it's indistinguishable from the Messiah in the incarnation, in contrast to, of course, the Creator. Now, of course, the common sense would be that, well, no one can be as holy as the actual Creator. I mean, that's like an impossibility. But like, say, for example, when we have issues in regards to the Ark of the Covenant, we have those two cherubim that facing one another, the same exact standard there. Mm-hmm. In regards to, you shall be, perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. You shall be merciful as he is merciful.
Yeah.
So even here with this statement here in Hebrews 12:10 here, I have to go through much more examination on it. But again, in terms of the actual distinction in regards to what's being said there, just to let people know here, I found something here that seems to be in contrast with what I've taught before, but I'm going to continue doing the research on it and take a look at it, because there are many statements that seem to be, in a sense, contradictory to it, and but we'll go further. But I just want to say that real quickly, Robert, so we'll take a look at that later.
Okay, but again, the concept has got to be something along those same lines of sharing the same perspective. His holiness and our holiness, or our standard, has to be his standard. It's a reflection. It's like a mirrored effect. And I'm going to be touching on some of that today, in fact, in this.
Right. Because we have so many, I found this one verse, but I have all these other verses, right, that give something in a sense. Again, the Ark of the Covenant, say, for example, the cherubim, right? There's no distinction whatsoever. You shall be what to lie to your heavenly Father. That says there's no distinction. That's not partitive. It's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have this one verse here that seems to suggest something different here. But again, we'll take a look and so on and so forth. But again, there is a common sense thing in the mind there that, of course, now we can always, as it says, that we may partake of the Father's holiness, right? But never be again, completely, totally, 100% exactly as He is the Creator, in contrast to the created. So again, it's just something that we'll talk about in later programs. I just wanted to just mention that. Okay, but that's it right now.
Amen. Well, again, in contrast with the extent of His holiness, which is beyond universal and extending from not just from one end to the other, but as far as content and volume, obviously, but His standard is kadosh, and He requires nothing less than kadosh of us, that we reflect that kadosh. As Messiah said, I'm going to make reference to it in a few minutes here, about when we see Messiah, we see the Father. When we hear Messiah, we hear the Father. And when somebody hears us with the word, 2 or 3 gathered in His name, He's there in the midst, speaking through us as we speak His word. And when the priests and the prophets would speak, they would be speaking the voice of Elohim. So it is this unique position of revelation that is specific and is consistent, and that again, that's why we have to be seriously covenanted to our eternal Lord. We have to be seriously covenanted, not just vaguely, I guess, like the sloppy agape. Somebody once told me that they kept Shabbat light. They still occasionally shop, they still occasionally do this and that. They kept Shabbat light, and that basically killed him in my eyes. It was just, I really respected this guy up until that point. He said, I keep Shabbat light. We shop, we do this, we do that. I don't know. Anyway, Michael, again, it's so good to hear your voice, and I look forward to the day when your tuchus is back on my sofa here, and you stay well and keep getting better, and keep the wheels in that head going. That's got an immense file cabinet in there. When he talks about remembering something, he's got an amazing file cabinet. So again, I thank you all for participating, Pat, Gilbert, and also Michael. Thank you. So again, or maybe not again, but I think I mentioned that the subject is called "The Faces of Yahuwah," the faces of Elohim, the faces of Yah. And it's a strange title. I agree with you. And in order to begin, I start at the end. Okay, I'm starting with the benediction that we're all familiar with, that I say every week. And I'm going to read from Numbers chapter 6, 24 to 27. I'm going to go and do the Ivrit as well. And there's 3 lines in this blessing. And they start with 3 words, then 5 words, then 7 words. So starting with the first verse, Yeharechecha Yahuwah, okay, may the Eternal bless you. We have the word Barach right in there, only with the Dagesh and the Beit, Barach, Yivarechecha Yahuwah, may He bless you. May who bless you? Yahuwah, right in the center of that. And then the third word is Vayish Marecha, and may He keep you. And the word Shamar is right at the center of that word. So the blessings and the keeping, the observing, the guarding, may we bless you, but may He also guard you and protect you and observe you. Okay, and then it's expounded upon in the next verse. Ya'er Yahuwah Penav Elecha Vechunecha. Okay, may He make shine, who? Yahuwah, faces of Him, Elecha, upon you, and may He be gracious to you. Chen is right in the corner of that, which is grace. May he give you his grace. May he give you his grace. A grace, again, is not a carte blanche to behave the way we want to behave. It's everything to do with the behavior that he expects from us, because he radiates it to us, and we need to turn it around. It's like the galactic pay it forward. He does for us, we do for others, and so on. We create a chain, a pericope, right? Okay. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious. Express his grace to you and through you, that we may keep his commandments, as it says in Titus. Okay? Yisa Yahuwah, Panav Elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May he turn, who turned? He turned, Yahuwah turned his faces toward you. Turn his faces toward you. Remember, through disobedience, he turns away from you. May he turn it. May he evoke in us the desire to be seen. You know, the stars of this day. Oh, he saw me. He looked right at me. She looked right at me. Did you notice that? She looked at me. You know, with the false assurance of the temporary status of celebrity, right? May he turn his face to us. May he notice us. May he recognize us as of his elect, of his Tov people, okay? May he turn his faces towards us. And may he give to you shalom. Shalom, which is a wellness. Shalom, which is a soundness, a completeness, a perfection. He needs to replicate himself in us. And where that happens is perfection. He needs to perfect us. We need to reflect his perfection. And again, that's a lifelong deal, right? To live and to walk as Messiah walked. But we have to get used to that idea, and we have to get used to the pursuit of excellence, not mediocrity. Like today, what's going on in the world today with this virus? A lot of people saying, stay closed. I'm no hurry to go back to work. Stay closed another month, another 2 months. Just keep sending me my check, you know? Or you have those that are greedy and just want to exploit the situation and make money off it. But you don't work, you don't eat. It's plain and simple. We don't have that passive mindset in this world. We'll be devoured by the adversary who roams the street like a lion. You know, if a gazelle stops in front of a rampaging lion and decides to take a nap, he's in trouble. He's in trouble, right? And this whole passive, just take it easy. You're over. You're going to blow a gasket because you're too concerned. Okay? So the faces of Yahuwah are turned to those who walk in his ways, not in their own ways, not taking delight in their own pleasures, but in him. We find our delight in him. Okay? And also this blessing. By reciting this blessing, the Kohanim would put his name, his teaching, his authority upon the Bnei Israel, upon the children of Israel, and they would be blessed. They would be made content and happy and observed. Remember, bless you, keep you, observe you. So we need to be grateful. We need to express that gratitude in pursuing his righteous standards. Okay? And several of the Psalms cry out in that same idea of shining his face upon us. Psalm 31:16, 67 verse 1, 119 verse 35. In Psalm 80, the psalmist requests no less than 3 times for Yahuwah to cause his face to shine upon us, and so be saved. Okay? Again, that he would look at us. He would take notice of us. You know, the thing that we hate to hear is, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of what? Of lawlessness. And Torah is integral part of Shabbat, the hearing of the word. When you assemble on Shabbat and you want to talk about this, you want to talk about that, this would be a good subject. Is it Torah? Is it Torah-based? You can touch upon the peripheries of other things, but it's got to bring us back to Torah. It's got to bring us back to Torah. Well, that's awfully limited. No, it's not. You know, this is our 24th 5, 10, 15, 24. 24. In 2 weeks, we'll have half a year worth of teaching here. Intensive teaching. A lot goes into this, and it's not Michael or myself or Gilbert or Pat that is glorified by this. We're not seeking to gain any fame out of this. If we're to boast about anything, we boast in Him. We boast in the one who permeates our thoughts and causes excitement, great excitement and desire. Okay? So again, to shine. And again, that saving light. If we walk in this light, which He is in that light, we have fellowship with each other laterally, but also vertically, we make this perfect unity with each other and with our Creator. Wow, I just did a Jesu Domine. I just did a benediction there. I apologize. Didn't mean to take that. Okay, so as He is in light, we have fellowship with one another, and we have that link, we have that connection. It's a sign between me and you. Halak. Do you have a good close friend? You have a wife? You have a sign of your unity? Okay. Do we have that? We have our marriage rings. I got my ring on there. Okay. You know, that we walk together. We can't agree unless we walk together. We can't walk together unless we agree. So again, we need to be understanding of His greatness and how beyond us He is in so many ways. Like I said, we are to be holy as He holy, but to understand what that holiness of the Creator is mind-boggling. We cannot replicate that in this mortal flesh of blood and bones. But the standard, the ethic that He establishes, we can walk, we can think as He thinks. We can do this. It's not a case of graduating, at the head of the class. It's a case of just being faithful. As my friend who passed a while back, Gidon, aka Roger Nelson, said, it's not so much your abilities, it's your availabilities. When He calls us, do we say Hineni, like the prophet Yeshayahu, Isaiah said? Well, who's going to represent us? Hineni, here am I. Or behold me, here I stand before you. Not me, just me. I'll do it. No. He's declaring that He be recognized. Hineni, behold I am standing before you. Acknowledge me. You've turned your face towards me in acknowledgement that I might be one that you can trust. What a blessing that is. If He ignores us and looks over our heads, sit down. Who can I call upon? In the old classrooms. Ooh. You really want to be called on because you got I know this. Ooh. You want to be recognized. And any good teacher would love to have a classroom filled with those. Here, when she asks a question, he asks a question, the room is filled with groans. Oh, call on me, please. Recognize me. Okay, I'm going to 1 Timothy chapter 6, because our Elohim is an awesome Elohim. He's awesome. He's not Big Daddy. He's not the man upstairs. He is, whoa, this is one of the verses that make you realize how awesome He is. 1 Timothy chapter 6, the second portion of verse 15 and verse 16, okay? He who was blessed, the blessed and only potentate, the King of kings and the Lord of lords, who alone has immortality. Now, that's something that a lot of people don't realize. It. He only has immortality. A lot of people saying, well, all mortals have an eternal soul, according to Plato, not according to the Tanakh or the Brit Hadashah, the scriptures. According to Plato, we're all immortal beings. We fade. Our consciousness is awakened as something else. Reincarnation is just become born into something else or what have you. But life is in His hands. Life is in His hands, okay? He alone is immortal, who alone has immortality, okay? John 3:16. Elohim, the Father, loved the world so much that He gave His uniquely begotten one, His Son, that whoever would believe in Him should not perish, but have eternal life. Aha, think about that. These words are very, very awakening. You're not burning in hell. You're dead. Okay? You're not strumming a harp. You're dead, leading to life, to be resurrected. But the dead are not eternally living in torment. That's another whole subject. I won't really get into that. But again, he only has immortality, and he gives it. He gifts life to those he loves. Man is not an everlasting being. He's just going to go on and transition to something else. When you die, you die. And no kidding. The new covenant refers to it as sleeping. They have fallen asleep. But it's not something you're going to wake up from. Okay. He alone has immortality. He dwells in unapproachable light. Unapproachable light. Who no man has seen or can see. Okay, it's not just saying, I don't want you to look at me. It's you can't. In your fragile earthen vessel state, you'll be incinerated. That's why it's unapproachable light. You can't just say, hey, Big Daddy, here I am. No. You can't. You can't see him, which is why he needs to extend himself through the Logos. The sightings of Elohim through the Tanakh are all manifestations of Mashiach, who is referred to as the Malach Yahuwah, who is the angel of the Lord, who is the pre-incarnate Messiah, the exact representation of who he is throughout the ages. Okay? And even the standard Malach, if there's such a thing as a standard run-of-the-mill Malach angel, when he speaks, it is the Father who's speaking to him. It is the Logos who's speaking to him. It is Elohim, Yahuwah, who speaks through him. Okay? Who no man has seen nor can see, to whom be honor and everlasting power. Amen. That's what it says in 1 Timothy chapter 6. To whom be honor and everlasting power. There's no blackouts. There's no running out of fuel. It's eternal as he is. The power is him, and the power is not flexing of muscles, as we'll teach in another thing. El Shaddai, Shad refers to the nursing breast. So he nurses us. His mercies is the womb. Okay, but that's another subject. We'll talk about that in weeks to come. So anyone who ever tried to stare at the sun realizes that they do so at their own risk, right? And that's the sun. That's a finite natural phenomena. We can't, there are people who try, and they turn away and they see spots. And of course, you can ultimately damage your eyes, and that's not. I don't suggest you do that. Okay. The light, the incomparable light that emanates from Elohim, shines with precision across the extent of the known universe and pierces into the deepest darkness. That's the light that's unapproachable. You can't just barge in on that kind of light. This is a caveat that we don't attempt to approach him unbidden. We need to be invited. We need to be invited into this presence. We can't just barge in. And I make reference to Leviticus 16. Okay? Verse 16. And the whole chapter essentially is dealing with this subject, but starting there, it says, and Yahuwah said to Moshe, tell Aharon your brother not to come at just any time into the holy place, the Kadosh location, inside the veil, before the mercy seat, which is on the ark, lest he die. For I will appear in a cloud above the mercy seat, and thus shall Aaron come into the holy place. And then he gives the how, the when, and the why. And of course, that's speaking specifically on Yom Kippurim. And it is atonements, plural. It's not Yom Kippur. Yom Kippurim. And he tells him, of course, it's the 10th day of the 7th month. There's special garments to be worn. There's 2 goats required, etc., etc. You can't just come in whenever you feel like it. I'm going to go to the Gospel, Habesar Tov, of Yochanan, the 1st chapter. Verse 18, John 1:18. No one has seen Elohim at any time. The uniquely begotten Son, who was in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. And then Yeshua confirms this in chapter 6, 45, 46. It is written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught by Elohim. Therefore, everyone who has heard and learned from the Father comes to me. He's the conduit. He is the reality that we can see. He's the Logos. Not that anyone has seen the Father, except he who is from Elohim. He has seen the Father. Most assuredly I say to you, he who believes in me has everlasting life. Again, John 3:16. You believe in him, you have everlasting life. To reject him, you have everlasting tormented, hellish life existence. No, it doesn't say that at all. So how can we know the way to the Father? Because he's unapproachable, will be incinerated, and yet Messiah offers us the way. And how can we know the way to the Father, the unapproachable light that no one can see and live? How can we do this? And again, we stay in the Gospel of Yochanan, chapter 14. I'm looking at verse 6 to 12. I'm trying not to get too close to the camera. Lately, it's like I'm ridiculous. I'm like sticking my face in there. So bear with me. I'm kind of new at this game, but we've been having good success. And I thank you for your support and you watching us live and also watching us later. We all have services to attend, but keep us in mind and please tell other people about us and subscribe to us if you can, if you like, and communicate to us. Okay, so Yeshua, how do we know the way? It says Yeshua said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. You know, we must worship him. The Father's looking for those who worship him in truth and in ruach, truth, emet. So he is the way, he is that truth, and he is that life everlasting that he wishes to share with us. No one comes to the Father except through me. He's like the bouncer at that exclusive club. You know, you got to go down the velvet rope and see if the guy likes you or not and allows you in. Not that I do that, but you see that on TV or what have you. You know, you got to know somebody, right? It's not always what you know, it's who you know. Well, in this case, it's both. You got to know what you know, and you got to know who you know, and they're connected. And then, except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. And from now on, you know him and have seen him. Okay? So Philip, who is a true Israelite in whom there is no guile, right? Or any of the Talmudim, they don't just accept it, they question things, as Thomas did, and so on. Philip said to him, Adonai, show us the Father, and it is sufficient for us. Yeshua said to him, have I been with you so long, and yet you have not known me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? Good question, right? The words that I speak to you, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does the works. Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father in me, or else believe me for the sake of the works themselves. And he's the Father dwelling in him, through him does the works. So he's in this mortal shell. A body has been prepared for him. He does not have human DNA, but a body was prepared for him. And the works that he does, the words that he say, come through him from the Father. They are echad, they are one singularity. Okay, for the sake of the works themselves. Okay, so the works are done through him by the Father. Most assuredly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will do also, and greater works than these he will do, because I go to the Father. So again, here is that I'm holy for you are holy kind of revisiting, okay? Because Messiah speaks and does what the Father does through him, and then he's saying, once he goes, we will be doing it, and greater works will we do because he goes. So the fact that the Yeshua leaves us in bodily form, we would think, hey, wouldn't it be great if he was still with us? Well, we are the body now. He's still the head, but we are the body. We're the living stones of the true temple, as I taught a couple of weeks back. The true temple that we should never allow to be defiled by falsehood and lies and evil and lawlessness. Greater works than these he will do because I go to the Father. When we see him, we see the one who sent him. They're one and the same. The message is the speaker, is the one who devised the plan. I put it into words. I speak the word delivered by the breath of the Ruach, or I send the mail. I address it. I write the note. I give it to the Malach, the messenger, and he delivers it. So whose message are they receiving? The Malachs or the sender of the Malach? Okay? So again, we have to understand what this unity is all about. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 16, verse 13. Again, I hope that you got pen and paper because I need to go at a certain speed. And if you could write these down or just revisit the broadcast. And we're still sounding good, Regina?
A little practice for that, but you're coherent. There's no
okay, because you're not
issues.
telling me that it's crackling. It's crackling?
Not just like little pops here and there.
Okay. Well, again, don't be discouraged. The message has to get through. And in chapter 16, verse 13, Hagar has been cast aside. She's a castaway, been thrown out of her house, essentially. Hagar gives this name to Yahweh who spoke to her, because the eternal Yahweh comes to her aid and rescues her and her son. You are the Elohim who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. Okay. How is that going? And if we look at the Hebrew, interesting. Ra'iti acharei roi. Okay, I saw acharei. I saw the back of the one seeing me. Interesting. Why they didn't make the translation. And the word achor is the back, the hinder part, beside, behind. It also refers to a time to come, the hereafter, the last or the ending. Achar. We're all familiar with the acharit hayamim, the last days. Achar is the root of that word, the last days. Acharit hayamim. Acharon, another variation of that word achar, is again late or last, the hinder, the last, the end, the after, that which is to come, the uttermost. And even the word ach sometimes uses an expression ach, okay? But it also makes reference to kindred, familiarity, a brotherhood, the exposure of a connection. To see the back of the one who determines the end from the beginning, and vice versa. So, as the eternal Yah mentions, you're not dealing with some run-of-the-mill deity of stone. I know the end from the beginning. I know everything. The highest heights are still no barrier for me or my knowledge. So, in essence, this is an invitation. He bids us to advance and to follow. So interesting that Hagar is acknowledged because he's not, the eternal Yah is not a respecter of persons. He allows Hagar to see this glimpse of holiness. Vaha siroti. Okay, this is referring to Exodus 33:23. Okay. I'm going to read that from verse 17. Okay. So Yahweh said to Moshe, I will also do this thing that you have spoken, for you have found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. There's an invitation given, okay? He's been bidden to be with Moshe. He's not, and he knows us because he finds grace in his sight, and he knows us by name. He knows us. He doesn't reject us. I don't know you. I do know you, Moshe. That's why he had such high expectations for him. And Moshe said, please show me your glory. Then Yahweh said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim my name, Yahuwah, before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion upon whom I will have compassion. Again, wonderful. It's all up to him. He's not obligated to reveal himself to you. He's not obligated to save you or to reveal his word to you. That's not his obligation. He doesn't, I'm not saying he doesn't love us, but he's not obligated. He's got no obligations. He created us. He gave us the opportunity to make decisions and better choices. If we fail to do so, that's why in Revelation towards the end he says, look, those who are sinning, those who are doing, continue to do so. You're living your brief life, which will be like a flare and be gone. And you get what you deserve. The wages of sin is death. But the gift of Elohim is eternal life. Again, the wages of sin is death, cut off. But on the other side, you have eternal life. Okay. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live. And Yahweh said, here is a place by me, and you shall stand on the rock. And again, the symbolism of the rock is significant. Messiah. So it shall be, while my glory passes by, that I will put you in the cleft of the rock, and will cover you with my hand while I pass by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, my achar. Right? You shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. So it's like seeing the afterglow of the unapproachable light. You shall see my back, or the wake of the vast ship that passes. You'll see the wake of that passing. Okay? So Hagar is allowed to experience the presence as Moses did, his back, not a respect of persons. Okay? You will see Chorai. You will see Achorei. Ufanei, but my face is lo yera'u. You must not be seen, okay? We'll continue here, reading scriptures. We look at the book of Esther, chapter 4. And again, I've made reference to this quite a few times, so bear with me if I say it one more time for anyone new here. When we read in chapter 4 of Esther, the story of Hadassah, verses 6 to 17, we see in chapter 4, 6 through 17, Hadassah risks her life to approach the king unbidden. Okay, the lives of her people, including herself, is at stake. But because the king's great love for his beloved, he allows this breach of protocol and allows her to enter into his presence. Again, the word for presence is the same word for face, panaim, panei. It's the presence. It is the face. It is important to understand that. Okay, the presence is to be in before his faces, his faces. So it's welcome. It's inexplicably welcome. Okay, the king did not owe her. He wasn't obligated to allow her to enter into his throne room. There's no obligations. Yahuwah is not obligated to do anything for us, but he's given us promises. And because those promises are valid and true and faithful, he acknowledges them and he never goes back on his word. His word is his bond. Our word needs to be our bond. Oh yeah, I lie from time. No, you should not lie. Why are you lying? You're concealing something? Don't lie. You should not lie. You cannot lie if you're covenanted to him. You cannot be deviously thinking of some alternate truth that I can give. But I'm sure they'll buy it. Yeah, they'll buy that. It's feasible enough. Again, if you plan on being covenanted to him, you better be faithful. You better be right. Okay. Again, you're not going to enter the unapproachable light in that fallen condition. You will be burned to a crisp. And in fact, the prophets talk about those who are destroyed and judged are ashes under our feet as we walk. Okay. Got you loud and clear, Father. Numbers chapter 4. Numbers, Bamidbar, in the wilderness. In the wilderness. Chapter 4 of Bamidbar, of Numbers 17 to 20. Then Yahweh spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, do not cut off the tribe of the families of the Kohathites from among the Levites, but do this in regard to them, that they may live and not die when they approach the most holy things. Aharon and his sons shall go in and appoint each of them to his service and his task, but they shall not go in to watch while the holy things are being covered, lest they die. So it's not like he's like the Greek pantheon of deities where they're throwing lightning bolts from heaven to destroy people. Look, you set yourself on fire. Pour gasoline on yourself, set yourself on fire. You say, Father, why didn't you rescue me from that? What do you expect me to do? Okay? So the holy things of Yahuwah must be treated with honor and respect. And that includes us. We are his holy things. We are his possessions. We've been bought with a price. And we don't like to use the terms that sound hauntingly like slavery, because that still continues to this day to be a blight upon mankind, the exploitation of the dignity of the human soul. The holy things of Yahweh must be treated with honor and respect. No exceptions are allowed. We see that in 2 Samuel chapter 6, 3 through 11, about the ark in the cart. They should have known better. Why are you putting the ark in the cart? You know how it's supposed to be carried. The Kohanim are supposed to put the poles on their shoulders and carry it out. Now let's do it. Let's put it in a cart. See, that's religion for you. Well, let's do it this way. I know it says that, but we've always done it this way. We always put things in carts. And again, as I mentioned before, there's this old saying about religious organizations. These new carts, what they're filled with is big wheels and boards. We have to have a board meeting before we can allow you to come in and pray. We're going to have a board meeting the third Tuesday of July. Can you wait that long? We need to have a board meeting. And the big wheels run it, right? The big wheels run it, and they run it into the ground. So that's what the new cart is. It's composed of boards and big wheels. I can't take credit for that. Okay? And so they treat the ark as strangers would with a strange thing. They got the Torah. If they knew Torah, they would not have done that. And as a result, it becomes unsteady. And one person takes it in his untaught person, obviously, and that's the responsibility of the Kohanim and the whatever. He should have known better, but goes to steady it, and he's stricken dead. Terrible thing, very sad. But even sadder is in 1 Samuel chapter 6, verse 18 to 19. Many of the men of Beth Shemesh greatly disrespected Yah and treat the Ark of the Covenant as something common. Okay, that's where the story is. Many died because they dared to look into the Ark. They were unwelcomed, unbidden. They overstepped their bounds. They were presumptuous, as so many of us can be. So again, don't just assume. Remember, Leviticus 16 told Aharon, the Kohen Hagadol, that you just can't come in any old time. You got to do it this way. This is how you do it. This is when you do it, and how. Gird yourself in the right outfits, even. Okay, the Ohel Moed, the house, which the ark was in, right? The Ohel Moed, which means the tent of the appointed time, and the appointed time, the appointed place. Obviously, they had no idea of that. It was inappropriate. And thousands, I think, died. Looked into the ark. I mean, what are you doing? They were unsupervised, obviously. They didn't have anyone to teach them the word. Faith comes from hearing from the word, the voice of Yahuwah. Genesis chapter 32, verse 30. Vayikra, so he called Yaakov, Shem, the name of Ha-Makom. So he called the name of the place Peniel Ki Ra'ati, and he called the name Peniel, which means the face of Elohim, right? For I saw Elohim, panim el panim. I saw Elohim face to face. Vati na tsel, and she was spared. What was spared? Nafshi, my soul, my life. Nefesh is soul. Again, the soul is not the immortal component of the human nature, which Plato should take credit, not the Bible. Oh, my immortal soul. No, you don't have an immortal soul. The soul that sins shall die. And it's more the life-giving, the breathing creature. So I saw Elohim face to face, and my life was spared. So he was not unbidden. He was bidden to experience this, and he had the limp to show proof of that. So panim is face, to turn, to appear, the presence. Okay, so we're familiar with that. With Yaakov wrestled with the Malach until dawn, and he would not let go until he be blessed. He wanted to know his name. He says, "I'm not gonna tell you my name." And then he knew that he had seen face to face, and face to face is something that we're told that you can't see, but some do see. So again, that is the Malach Elohim. That is the one who is sent as a representative, who is of the same essence. In him, all the deity dwells in bodily form. So he is the visible, discernible evidence of the presence and manifestation of Elohim. Now, Peniel. Aha. I want to talk to you about this, which is a fascinating subject. The Peniel, the face of Elohim. Matthew 6, verses 22-23. Says, the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. Again, if your eye is good, body full of light. What does that mean? If you have cataracts, you have no light? Oh, okay. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? And that verse is appropriate with regards to the pineal gland. Have you heard of that? Very interesting. Very interesting. It's like a pea-sized, conical, pine cone-shaped mass of tissue, which is located behind the third ventricle of the brain, secreting a hormone-like substance. Serotonin and melatonin affects the modulation of the wake and sleep patterns, and it also affects seasonal functions, photoperiodic, the physiological reaction of beings to the length of day and night, light and darkness. You have people who, different parts of the earth where they're prolonged darkness, prolonged light, and these people can go mad. Could go mad because they're not adjusted to that experience. And this pineal gland is aware of light and darkness. So that's interesting. Literal and psychological darkness. Okay, Rene Descartes, famous philosopher, said, I think, therefore I am. And in Eastern philosophies, I'm reading from a definition I saw here. In Eastern philosophies, the pineal gland's location represents the principal seat of the soul. It is located in the same spot as, you got it, the third eye. Why is that such a powerful motif in a lot of Eastern philosophies? Well, I'm going to give you some reason. Listen to this. This is fascinating. The pineal gland actually senses light like an optic nerve. So it is almost literally a third eye. And it regulates the waking and sleep patterns and cycles, and also the emotions. It is associated with the key to the elevated state of chakra. It is the eye full of light, the good eye, the bad eye, the pineal gland, Peniel, the face of Elohim. Why is it called Peniel? I just thought that was really fascinating. Peniel, it's the same word that Jacob uses when he describes this location, because he sees face to face is his Lord. Within this pineal gland is water and vibrating crystals that correspond to all the colors of the rainbow. Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Roy G. Biv, okay? the rainbow. Responds to all the colors. Deuteronomy 6, verses 6 through and 8. I have to look. The commandments, these very commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. And also tie them as symbols on your hand. The chayu, they must be letotafot, they must be as bands or frontlets, bain, between einecha, between the eyes of you. Bind them on your foreheads. And these are the instructions for the phylacteries. So that's an interesting thing. Where this pineal gland is, the phylactery covers it, and it's bound with a band right there, which is the commandments, which is the Torah, which is light or darkness. The phylacteries represent the light, and the mark of the beast is often described as between the eyes also. So we have light and we have darkness. And again, this pineal gland, remember that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. So why do we really notice this pineal gland? Okay, the positive effects of the pineal gland are inhibited today by fluoride, artificial sweeteners, the lack of vitamin D and direct sunlight. Its effects have been dampened or neutralized by modern man as we continue to pollute this temple. So in Yeshua's day, with all this stuff, everything was natural. He talks about the evil eye, the eye being good or evil, discerning light and darkness, spring and winter, and affecting the emotions. Interesting, no? Very, very interesting. And the East, the Far East went and made it, amplified its purpose to be chakra, the enlightened third eye. Interesting. Okay, back to Torah, back to Tanakh in the Nevi, in the Chatavim, which is back in Psalm 105, verse 4. Dershu Yahuwah vehutso. Vehutso. Okay? Look to Yahuwah and the strength of him. Okay, this is a directive. Look, it's like a command, it's like a shout to us. Bak shu fanaiv. Again, that's the same word as panaiv without the dagesh, so it's fanaiv. Seek his faces, the faces of him. And again, the word for bakshu, which is the word bakash, which is to search out, to strive after. The vaksha is a petition, is a request. So we seek with diligence, with purpose, not with lack of desire. Okay, seek the faces of him, tamid, always, evermore, perpetual, continually. We have the ner tamid, which is the continual light in the synagogue, right? The ner tamid, the light, continual light. And the root of the word is to stretch, the idea of continuance, to stretch. Seek his face always as we stretch our life out before him, where he can see us and acknowledge us. Everything is laid out before him. This is me. This is me. And that I would have audience with you, I pray. That's the acknowledgement, the offer, and the petition, the request as we stretch out. Always seeking his face, always stretching out the time, stretching out the purpose and the reason. Psalm 27, verses 7 through 9. Hear, O Yahuwah, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me and answer me. When you said, seek my face, my heart said to you, your face, Yahuwah, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me, which implies rejection or an invitation withdrawn. Do not do that. Do not hide your face from me. And that it's pleading to him, the eternal, but it's also contingent upon our behavior to make him turn away. I never knew you. I have no obligation to give you my attention. Okay? Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my help. Do not leave me nor forsake me, O Elohim, of my Yeshua, of my salvation, of my salvation. And again, we're going to go into the subject of the temple and the presence of the Most High. And Michael made mention of the shewbread, table of the shewbread. You know what the name of that? It's the bread of the faces, the bread of the presence. Lechem panav, panim, of the faces. The 12 loaves represent the faces as the eternal Yah looks favorably upon the 12 tribes, those who he has set apart for his purpose of being a light for all the nations. Okay? So they are the table of showbread, the table of the bread of the faces. Very interesting. Lechem, of the faces. And again, do not leave me or forsake me, acknowledging that Elohim is the Elohim of Yeshua. As we see in the Tanakh, all those verses, Michael making reference to a righteousness that is yet to be revealed. And we know that is revealed through Yeshua, the unique salvation of Elohim, Yeshua. 2 Chronicles 7:14, very familiar verse. If my people are called by my name, my people called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and heal their land. So we seek the presence, we seek to be approved and to be allowed to enter his holy courts. Okay? So by seeking his face, we turn away from wickedness. We turn away from lawlessness. You can't do both. You can't diligently seek him while still engaged in behavior that disqualifies you from entering into his courts. Basic common sense. Hopefully it's common among us, but it's certainly uncommon in the world. And now another phase of this teaching involves the reflections, reflecting the face. Okay, how do we enter into the place where we can see this face of the unapproachable light? Through Yeshua. Yeshua is the way. He's the one who presents himself as the intermediary and yet fully representing the fullness of the deity in bodily form. How that's done, don't look to me. I don't know how that works. The Elohim of the universe, so vast is he that the universe cannot contain him, and yet a body was prepared for him to dwell in fully. I'm not going to speculate or figure out how that's done. That's pretty impressive. Proverbs 27, verse 19. Okay, 27, verse 19. Reflections, okay? Kamayim ha panim la panim, as the waters, the faces, Cain, lev ha-adam la-adam. And what does that mean? As the water reflects the face, so a man's heart reflects the man. And again, it's the face, reflects the face. The water reflects the face, and a man's heart, in the same way, a man's heart reflects the man. Unless we've learned to be really good actors, really good in our duplicitous, have fooled everybody, pulled the wool over several people. Okay? 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves. See if you're in the faith. Are you in the faith? Examine yourself. This is not just meant as a useless exercise. We have to check, prove ourselves, and evaluate ourselves, do a spring cleaning, a thorough cleansing has to take place. A lot of us have done the majority of the work that's needed. A lot of us have a lot yet to go. And we need to acknowledge that. We need to be honest with ourselves. And again, tying up with Shabbat, tying up with the idea of, are we using Shabbat as a day where we stop our behavior that is untoward the Lord of the Shabbat? Are we using this day as a time to be instructed of him? Again, the Shabbat representing the doorway to the Torah. You know, if you're Shomer Shabbat, even in rabbinic cycles, if you are Shomer Shabbat, that means you observe Sabbath but that you are from. You are biblically, Hebraically sound in keeping the commandments. Okay. Matthew 5, verse 7. Blessed are the poor in heart, for they will see Elohim. They will see Elohim. Yaakov, the book of James, the first chapter. You know how I feel about that name, James. Not to insult anybody named James or Jimmy, but this is referring to Melech Jimmy, King James, and his desire to change all the Jacobs into Jimmys. Okay. Anyway, he says, "Be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man observing his natural face in a mirror." Again, the mirror. "For he observes himself, goes away, and immediately forgets what kind of man he was." Okay, so again, when I think of the Decalogue, when I think of the Ten Commandments, when I think of Torah, it is a mirror held to our face. Are we that? Are we that? And again, you read those 10 words. They're not difficult to consider. Okay? You don't lust over what a man has, wants his possessions. You don't backbite and lie about people. Okay, obviously you don't kill and steal from them, but or commit adultery. Honor your parents. Okay, keep Shabbat in all the commandments. All of the commandments. If we're faithful to Him, we won't be building idols. We won't be putting things in front of Him before our access. Our access to the eternal is blocked by our stuff. Got to get rid of the stuff that are in the way, and so on. Anyway, but the point is, it's a mirror. It's who we are. But he who looks into the perfect Torah of liberty and continues in it, it's a continual. It's as we use, Michael used that expression, continuous action. The seventh day, the continuous action, constantly continuing in the faith, not hitting the finish line and then hanging up your stuff and then sitting down and lazing about. The finish line is the return of Messiah. That's the finish line. Nothing before that. Otherwise, we need to be faithfully at work doing the work that's been given to us to do. He who looks into the perfect Torah of liberty. See, that's not legalism. And we hear terms like Judaizers. That's what the unlearned do, call us who keep the commandments. So be careful of that term Judaizer, because that's a word that's often used to us. And yes, there were probably those in the early days that tried to convert Gentiles to be circumcised, because after all, it seemed like the right thing to do. In order to keep the Passover, eat the Passover lamb, you had to be circumcised. So the commandments are pretty specific. But to know Messiah, it was decided not the proselytes at the gate needed to just hear the good news and not undergo the knife. And those who were Judaizers, Paul says, let them be completely cut off. Okay? Need I say any more? I don't think so. Okay? And continues in it, and is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work. Because as you're doing it, just like when you're singing a song based on Scripture, you remember the Scripture because of the song. That's why it's good to sing and make melody in the Lord. Sometimes I won't remember a certain verse, but I'll remember the song that speaks of it. And there it goes. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth with weeping bearing precious seed shall doubtless come again, rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. The Lord has done great things for us wherever we are glad. The Lord gave me a melody for those verses years and years ago. Okay, so whatever you need to do, that you don't forget, become a forgetful hearer, because you won't be able to do it if you forget it. But once you get into the routine of the action, of the putting it into practice, then it stays with you. This one, the one who is a doer of the work, this one will be blessed in whatever he does. Okay, he's met the requirements. And again, we think of reflections. Remember the legend of Narcissus? Narcissus? How do you want to pronounce it? Where he looks into the water and he sees his reflection in the water and he falls in love with himself. And I think a lot of people have done that. And besides Narcissus, when people say they're narcissistic, remember that's where that's based on. I'm narcissistic. I am in love with myself. My reflection is beauteous. Okay. Of course, this leads to disaster. Ultimately, it leads to disaster by him doing that. When we look into the hearts of friends and loved ones, we may come to see our own reflections, for better or for worse. We may see our own reflection because we are echad with our loved ones, those that we love, those that we are on not just a first name basis, but our hearts and our souls are knit together. We seek commonality. You know, it's been said that a married couple, been married a long time, they start to look like each other. You know, there's a resemblance. And remember, kind attracts and begets kind. So there needs to be a family resemblance. It should never be like the old fun houses where they have the mirrors, like the House of Mirrors, which were all, exaggerations and distortions. And we look at that and we're like huge, or we're tall and thin like a giraffe, all that stuff. The mirror should not do that for us. The mirror of the Torah, the law of perfect liberty that we need to continue in, is not distorted. And again, another question that we might ask is, when you enter into a room, do you light it up or light it or cause it to? Well, do we brighten up a room when we enter it or when we leave it, exit it? So water reflects water. There's no denying it. So we need to be better than the world's standards, because Yahweh's standards are perfect. His Torah is perfect, and his Shabbat that we meditate on, his Torah, are all perfect. Laugh and the world laughs with you, cry and you cry alone. Everyone will abandon you. As long as you got the reason for people to latch on to you in this world, they're going to hang. But as soon as you start in trouble, they're going to say, later for you, I'm going to hang out with somebody else who's got something I can benefit from. But the thing is also, if we would just exhibit a face of blessing, of smiles, of calmness, we'll find that a lot of times people will respond in kind. They'll, okay, whenever we go into a store, we're also extra careful, also polite, also nice, quick to make a little cute comment here and there, and we find that it's wow, that's nice, and it's responded to and built upon, and we have a good conversation, because the world is wants to be on its own. Don't talk to me, please. So we need to go that extra mile sometimes, and even the greeting, Shalom Alechem, Alechem Shalom. If you enter into a home and you give them your peace and it's not returned, kick the dust. So that's literally like a palindrome. Shalom Alechem, Alechem Shalom. It's in the perfect order and inverted. You give them your peace and your peace is returned to you. Okay, we need to pay it forward, as I said earlier. We need to set the example and set the standard. We need to do things and be, well, that's like works, and that's like, yeah, but you need to be an example. You need to be a shining example of the truth of Messiah. And when people ask you for, why are you so optimistic? The New Covenant writings tell us that. Why are you so hopeful? Why aren't you depressed? Why aren't you cranky? Why aren't you nasty? Why are you trying to be nice to me? Give them reason for your hope. Give them reason for your joy. Okay? But we also need to bless those who curse us. We need to pray for those who would seek to, demean us and offend us. Love your enemies. We have a choice of whether or not to reflect what others project. So if they're projecting negativity, we can neutralize it by being positive, and we can potentially win them over sometimes. So in the mirror, anger is reflected and returned as it is getting, unless we shatter their expectation, right? Disarm people with our smile, with our love. In a mirror also, objects appear even further distant. If we're far from the mirror, it's that much farther within the mirror, and the closer, the closer. So distance is established by the view of the mirror. Like it says in the review mirror, objects may appear closer or may be closer than they appear to be. Okay. What kind of reflection does our lives project? Are we projecting Elohim? Are we projecting Yahuwah and his good standards and his holiness and the things that he presents and projects in us and through us? That we stay away from things that would be offensive because we are Shomer Shabbat. We are observers of the Sabbath. That means on Monday morning I'm going to be pleasant to the shopkeeper because I'm a Shabbat observer. It has everything to do with every day of my life and the effect. Just like with the passing of Yahuwah before Moshe, he sees the afterglow. He sees the wake in the water of the vast ship that it's passing. So we react in that same manner. We leave good things in our wake as well. Okay. We are not to reflect this world, to do to others as others would do unto you. Don't get mad, get even. And if we are of that mindset, we can change that face in the mirror. We can change it because it is how we are to live our lives. And if we live it in bitterness, we will be cut off. The heart of Adam reflects Adam. The second Adam, Yeshua, became a reflection of mankind on the tree of sacrifice, the stake of offense. Okay, can we ever reflect the face of Elohim? Can we reflect his face? As we see in the scriptures here. 2 Corinthians chapter 3. Okay. But we with unveiled face, beholding as in a mirror the glory of Yahuwah, are being transformed into the same image, his likeness. We were created in his likeness, and now we are transformed again to reflect from glory to glory, as it says here, as in the mirror, we with unveiled face, because we can't see beyond the veil, right? We're unveiled face. There's no pretensions or presumptions. Unveiled face is an honest face. There's no foolishness involved. Beholding as in the mirror the glory of Yahuwah, are being transformed into the same image, from glory to glory, just as by the Spirit of Yahuwah. Therefore, since we have this ministry, and again, ministry is when we are minus. We give of ourselves, and we esteem others higher than ourselves. So if you're an effective minister, you're actually emptying yourself in service, which he will refill and add abundance as he promises to. The produce, so on. So he replenishes us. He fills us up. He gives of his ruach. Since we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we do not lose heart, but we have renounced the hidden things of shame. Have you fully renounced these hidden things? The hidden sins are all well known and categorized by the Eternal. Again, we need to obey and walk in his holiness, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of Elohim deceitfully. And again, I don't mean to point fingers, but a lot of the people that are on this YouTube channel, that's exactly what they're doing. They're just rehashing the same old. The stuff that Yeshua says. You're paying more attention to the traditions of man than what I'm actually saying. And Messiah says in Luke 6, says, why do you call me Adonai, Adonai, when you don't do the things that I do? I'm the Lord of nothing, because my words mean nothing to you. So thank you for calling me the Lord of nothing, for what's that called? Demotion. You've demoted me. We don't handle the word deceitfully, but accurately and faithfully, but by manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of Elohim. So when Paul talks about follow me as I follow Messiah, he's not being arrogant, saying, in other words, he's putting himself in that same position. No, his everyday activities are clearly seen. We could talk about, and we should talk about Elohim, and we don't. But what are we doing? How are we living? Follow me. Look at my example. Have I ever ripped you off? Have I ever lied to you? Have I ever hurt your feelings? Have I ever talked about you? Have you ever tried to, get in bed with your wife? Have you ever done any of these things? That's the example that Messiah led for me, and I give to you that you can see. As Paul talked about the working among he had the opportunity to be like one of these rich guys on the TV. Just send me your money, and that's all you need to do, and you'll be blessed by giving your money. And somehow, by giving me your money, it'll be multiplied to you. Okay, while you continue to pay into and support falsehood, so you're doubly cursed in that effort. You're doubly cursed because not only are you blessing the reprobates, but you're endorsing his message, and other fools will be fooled and compromised with you. Okay? So again, in the sight of Elohim, he does these things. But even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled where it can't be seen. Okay? And this is all about sight today. Today is all about sight. To those who are perishing, it is veiled to those who are perishing, whose mind the Elohim, the God of this age, has blinded. Again, we can't see because we either have a veil or we've been effectively blinded by this false deity, whose mind of the Elohim of this age is blinded, who do not believe, lest the light of the gospel of the glory of Messiah, who is the image of Elohim, should shine upon them. Okay? Lest the light of the gospel of the glory of Messiah, who is the image of Elohim, should shine upon them. So again, the light, the face, it's all here in these words. Continuing, for we do not preach ourselves, but Messiah Yeshua Adonai, and ourselves your bondservants for Yeshua's sake. In other words, he's not a big wheel. He doesn't seek to have any board meetings. For it is Elohim who commanded light to shine out of darkness, who has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of Elohim in the face of Yeshua the Messiah. So the face of Elohim is Yeshua. He's the face of Elohim. And again, like that pineal gland, we determine light and darkness instinctively in the Lord. We never actually see the thing that we're looking at. We see light reflected off that thing. Oh, I see a book. No, you see the light shining off that book to my eyes. It's in the darkness. Like in the darkness, everything's black and white, right? You don't see bright colors when you're just kind of squinting as you get up to go to the bathroom or something in the middle of the night. There's no light, so you're not really seeing a whole lot. And again, we require the light. The light reflected off the thing is what we see. Matthew 5:16, let your light shine before man. So if you dwell on nonsense and garbage, that's what your life is going to reflect. If you're hoarding nonsense, any number of things, fill in the blank. I don't want to judge anybody because I if you're collecting things, you're a collector, and you look down upon those who are hoarders, right? But meanwhile, to somebody who is not a collector or a hoarder, they say, you're a hoarder. Anyway, you got lots of books here. Trying to get rid of a lot of the stuff. You're trying to lead as clean a life as they can, clean and unhindered by stuff. Okay, if we're filled with garbage and nonsense, that's what our life is going to reflect. Okay, when our minds and when we dwell upon Yahuwah, we will reflect Him and bear the light to the world. We will bear that light. Okay, 1 Corinthians 13, verse 12. Now we see but a poor reflection, as in the mirror, but then we shall see face to face. I'm going to 1 John chapter 3, verse 2. Beloved, now we are B'nai Elohim. We are the children of Elohim. And it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. Okay, even Yochanan did not know the fullness of what will happen. He didn't try to be pretentious. A lot of people fill in the blanks. The Lord doesn't need our help. There's certain things that we don't know the full details. So don't give details that you think need to be filled in, because to you it's inadequate. It's not inadequate. We have a perfectly adequate revelation to us. Okay? not revealed yet what we shall be, but we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. We will be able to approach that unapproachable. We will be welcome to be in his presence, and we will be bidden to enter into his fellowship, his holiness. And we're welcomed to be in his presence, transformed and face to face. We've met his standards and his expectations. Through Messiah, who through the ages fully represented the fullness of the Father on a limited temporary form. Limited in the sense he's standing before you, he's not over there, he's here. He's limited in the exposure that was chosen for him to do. Okay, and this happens for each specific occasion and task that was established. So when we think of Moshe being face to face with the Lord, Exodus 33:11, Numbers 12:8, 14 verse 14, 34:10, Exodus 24:9 through 11. These are all people who are face to face with the Eternal. Exodus 24 is interesting because Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 elders of Israel see Yahuwah, see him, and they eat with him. Okay, interesting, right? It's understood when we see that it's the pre-incarnate Messiah who they are seeing. So again, when we see him, when we catch his attention, when he takes notice of us, it's no gray areas. It's either because we are declared fit to be bidden him, or he rejects us and he casts us aside. Okay, so now I want to go into a little additional thing here about the panim, the faces, a very mysterious thing, and this is kind of fun. Again, this is not something that I've discovered completely on my own. A lot of these elements I've known about, and anyway, I'm going to look in the book of Ezekiel, the first chapter, 4 through 10, and Yechezekiel. Then I looked, and behold, a whirlwind was coming out of the north, a great cloud with raging fire engulfing itself. Wow. And brightness was all around it and radiating out of its midst. Sounds pretty unapproachable. Okay? Like the color of amber out of the midst of the fire. Also from within it came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. Each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of calves' feet. They sparkle like the color of burnished bronze. The hands of a man were under their wings of the 4 sides, and each of the 4 had faces and wings. Their wings touched one another, just like the cherubim on the mercy seat, right? Which is another subject I'll hopefully be talking about next week. Okay, their wings touch one another. Okay, the creatures did not turn when they went, but each went forward. Okay, as for the likeness of their faces, each had the face of a man. Each of the 4 had the face of a lion on the right side, which is the east. Each of the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side, which is west. And each of the 4 had the face of an eagle. Interesting. Muy interesante. Chapter 10, verse 1 refers to them as cherubim. Isaiah chapter 6 talks about them, seraphim. Where do they come from? Where do they come from? Revelation 4, verses 6 through 8. Where were they coming from? That Ezekiel sees them out of this storm cloud. Before the throne, there was a sea of glass like crystal. This is Revelation 4, 6 through 8. Like crystal. And in the midst of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures full of eyes in front and in back. Again, they're around the throne and they're in the midst of the throne. They each face a different direction, yet they all move forward and they're all together. How does that happen? If I'm back to back with my wife and we both move forward, we're moving in the... I don't know. I don't know how that happens. How our wings can still be in contact with us. Because they're not restricted to dimensions, because they're They're amazing creatures that are divine. Okay. They were full of eyes in front and in back. The first living creature was like a lion. The second living creature was like a calf or an ox. The third living creature had the face of a man. And the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. The four living creatures, each having 6 wings, were full of eyes around and within. And they do not rest day or night. Again, continuous action, saying, Kadosh, 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 Yahweh Elohim Shaddai. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Elohim Almighty, who was, who is, and is to come. So why is there 4 creatures? And if these are not identical, they set the precedence of these 4 distinct dimensions, 4 distinct appearances: a lion, an ox, an eagle, and a man. Okay, so 4. I'm going to talk about the number 4 for a brief moment. 4 represents material completeness. On day 4, the celestial lights complete to shine upon the works of the material world that was created on days 1, 2, and 3, and at the same time preparing the world of the living creatures that will follow in chapters 5 and 6. All the souls, the Nephishim, created in 5 and 6. We see that in Genesis 1, 14 to 19. I don't need to read that portion for you. You can read that as the creation of the lights, the greater lights, the lesser lights. Interesting, though, that the word for the sun is shemesh. It's the same word for servant. So even the greater light is the servant of all. It's the sun that illuminates our planet from our position, that we can see all the lights, the stars, the moon, but it's the sun who serves as the servant to illuminate our world, where we have that opportunity to see the light bounce off and see things. Okay, back to number 4. Okay, the 4 elements of the world are earth, air, water, and fire. The 4 regions of the earth, north, south, east, and west. The 4 divisions of day, the morn, the day, the evening, the night. The 4 seasons, spring, summer, winter, fall. A river that leaves Eden parts into 4 riverheads, chapter 2, 10, and 11. The 4 heads that represent the animal kingdom, the 4 major groups of animals. Of the wild beasts, the lion is king. Of the domesticated animals, the ox is king. Of the air, the eagle is the lord of the air. And man, made in the image and likeness of Yah, is to have dominion over all. So again, those 4 creatures pop into this picture. And now I'm going to show you something interesting. In addition to that, the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, chapter 2, verse 1. And here they are in the wilderness, and they're establishing their location with the tabernacle, with the Mishkan. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, every one of the Bnei Israel shall camp by his own standard, beside the emblems of his father's house. The word for standard is degel, which is a flag, a banner, or a standard. Okay. They shall camp some distance from the tabernacle of meeting. Again, the Oel Moed, the place of the appointed place and time. On the east side, toward the rising of the sun, those of the standard of the forces with Yehuda shall accamp according to their armies, and Nashon, the son of Aminadav, shall be the leader of the Bnei Yehuda, Judah, and his army was numbered 74,600. Those who camped next to him shall be the tribe of Issachar. And I'll skip through some of that, whose army was 64,400. Then comes the tribe of Zebulun, whose army was 57,400. All who were numbered according to the armies of the forces with Yehuda, 186,400 total. Those shall break camp first. So of the east, Yehuda was the leader of these 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. There's 3 on each side. Yehuda is the leader of the eastern division. Okay, these are the eastern divisions of the camp with the standard. And Yehuda, it's their standard that is the prevailing standard. The representative were the lead bearers of the standard. Numbers 2:10. On the south side shall be the standard of the forces with Ruvain, according to their armies, and his army was 46,500. Those who camped next to him shall be the tribe of Simeon, and his army was 59,300. Then comes the tribe of Gad, and his army was 45,650. All who were numbered according to the armies of the forces with Ruvain are 157,450. They shall be the second to break camp. So again, Ruvain was the representative tribe of the southern division. Okay? Verse 18. On the west side shall be the standard with the forces of Ephraim, according to their armies, and his army was 40,500. Next to him comes the tribe of Manasseh, and his army was 32,200. Then comes the tribe of Benjamin, and his army was 35,400. All who were numbered according to their armies of the forces with Ephraim, 108,100. They shall be third to break camp. Verse 25. Be with me. I'll be done with this soon, and you'll see where I'm going. Verse 25. The standard of forces of Dan shall be on the north side, according to their armies, and his army was 62,700. Those who were camped next to him shall be the tribe of Asher, and his army was 45,500. Then comes the tribe of Naphtali, and his army was 53,400. All who were numbered with the forces of Dan, 157,600. They shall break camp last with their standard. These are the ones who were numbered of the Bnei Israel by their fathers' houses, all who were numbered according to their armies of the forces of 603,550. But the Levites were not numbered with the Bnei Israel, just as Yahuwah commanded Moshe. Thus the Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, did according to all that Yahuwah commanded Moshe. So they camped by their standards. So they broke camp, each one by his family, and according to their fathers' houses. Okay, I said all that to say a little bit more here. The order of the tribes that were on the move, okay? First, the Levites would go first, carrying the ark. They would be first. And then Yehuda, Issachar, and Zebulun, with Yehuda, with their banner, leading the way. That's the eastern tribe. Then behind them would be the Gershonites and the Merarites, who carry the physical Mishkan, the tabernacle. And then Reuben, Shimeon, and Gad from the south, with Reuben leading the way. And then after them would be the Kohathites, who carry the Mishkan furnishings. Okay? So you had the Levites with the ark, the division with Yehuda of the east, then the Mishkan being carried, and then Reuben and leading the division of the south, and then the Kohathites with the furnishings, and then following them would be Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin of the west, Ephraim being in the lead there. And then Dan, Asher, and Naphtali of the north would be pulling up the rear of their travels. So the four tribal leaders that represent the four camps, the 4 points on the compass, carried their standards to lead the way. There's been some difference of opinions, and I looked into a lot of these different things, but the most reliable sources agree on the images brandished by these standards, the degalim, under which they camp. So first, from the east, from the right, would be Yehuda, and on his standard was a lion. Next, below, representing the terrestrial, the earthbound, would be Reuben, leading the way with man on his standard, because man is of the earth, of the south. The next would be the left, or the west, would be Ephraim, and his ensign was an ox. Okay? And then finally, the northern tribe standard of Dan was the eagle, and which is above. The north is above in the heavens. So we have the heavens, we have the earth, we have the place where the sun rises and the place where the sun sets. Four represented there. Shlomo in the Song of Songs 2:4 says, "His banner over us is love." Exodus 17:15, Yahuwah is my banner, my Nisi, my ensign. Isaiah 11:10. In that day there shall be a root of Jesse, who shall stand as a banner, a Nis to the peoples. For the nations shall seek him, and his resting place shall be glorious. Remember, he is Adon HaShabbat. He's the one who will lead us to his glorious rest and restoration, because when he returns, he will establish the 7,000th year, as you probably have heard before, that after 6,000 years, the 7,000 is the millennial reign of Messiah upon the earth. So his resting place shall be glorious, literally, in this millennial kingdom, where we will serve as leaders and as Kohanim, as those who are instructing those survivors of the final wars. Again, a subject for another time. So the four Gospels also conform to the same pattern, the same panim, or faces of Yahuwah, that he has chosen to reveal to us. Okay, now this is, some might say that's a bit of a stretch, all this stuff here, but just bear with me. The Gospel of Matthew, the symbol is that of the king, the lion, the son of David. In fact, when we read chapter 1, verse 17, so all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. From David to the captivity in Babylon, 14 generations. And from captivity in Babylon until Messiah returns, comes, are 14 generations. So again, the gematria of 14, David, is numerically 14 times 3, the sign of divinity. So Matthew is the lion, the king, and it records what Messiah said, the words that he speaks. The second gospel, Mark, he's the ox, he's the beast of burden, he's always on the go. He's the Eved, he's the servant, always on the go. And it talks about what he did. Just like we hear about the hearers of the word, the doers of the word. You notice it's the shortest gospel. He's always going. There's never these protracted pauses. It's one thing after another. The third gospel, Luke, portrays Messiah as man, presented as the Son of Man, with great insight into his portrayed humanity, as he sets the example for us to follow. He didn't come to show us that we can't do it. He came to show us that we can do it, keeping of the commandments and obeying the Torah. People get that backwards, really. And because it portrays him as man, it portrays how Messiah felt. And interesting that the Gospel of Luke sets up the sequel in the book of Acts, which has the promise of the Spirit. And the fourth Gospel is the Lord of the air, the Lord of the heavens, the eagle, the son of Elohim, the Lord of the heavens. He's not created. There's no genealogy. He's eternal, pre-existent. And as opposed to what he said, did, or felt, Yochanan tells us that who he was will be, and who he was, who he is, and who he will be. And he sets up a sequel in the book of Revelation and his epistles about the promise of the return. So again, the Panaim, the face, is also the presence of the Most High. So again, is this just coincidence that these four images keep popping up? Four Gospels, the four creatures of supremacy. And so let's leave that there. And another interesting subject within this context is Matthew chapter 18, verse 10b. It mentions that the angels always see the face of my Father who is in the heavens. So the Malachim of the heavenly division see the face of Yahuwah who is in heaven. We are of the earthly division, also Malachim. We are also messengers, and we need to make sure that we get that message across and bring the gospel to reality to people and present it in an authentic, true way. So again, the word for Malachim is the heavenly messengers. They speak with the voice of Yah. So whenever they speak, we hear the voice of Yah. Whenever 2 or 3 are gathered as believers, we gather in Yah's name, Yeshua's name, his teaching, his authority. He is in our midst. If we speak the truth in love and accuracy, It is the voice of Yahweh that people will hear. So again, I mentioned that earlier. I wanted to re-emphasize that. As we talked about, sometimes we need to repeat certain things. And there are certain repeated things that I go from week to week, as you might notice. I hope you don't find it annoying. I try to present it as a reaffirmation, as a reinforcing the position that we represent here, that we present. Psalm 114, verse 7 says, "Tremble, O earth, at the presence, Panaim, the faces of Adonai," is the word used there, at the presence of the Elohim of Yaakov. Psalm 119:7, "Where can I go from your Ruach, from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence, from your faces?" Verse Psalm 16:11, you will show me the path of life. You will show me the path of life. In your presence, in your face, is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. So again, in his presence. And we need to be desiring to seek his face, to be in his presence. It's the same word. That's what we need to, that needs to be our goal in life, to seek his presence, whether it's internally felt or in reality when we look forward to the resurrection. We will see him as he is because we will be like him. But for the now, we can be in his presence. We can walk as Messiah walked, walk in fullness of joy, keeping the honest inventory going about our behavior and our faithfulness, and keeping the ethics of truth, to treat everyone with equal generosity, equal faithfulness and honesty. That's who we are. That's what we present. That's what we project into the mirror. We present and project honesty and integrity. We have to. We have to. Okay. Psalm 31. And I'm coming to a conclusion here. I have my verses all written out for me. As I explained to you before, I have trouble turning pages in the Bible. So I have everything written out for me here. Psalm 31, verses 19 to 20. Psalm 31, verses 19 to 20. "Oh, how great is your goodness, which you have laid up for those who fear you, who revere you, who love you. How great is the goodness you've laid up for us, which you have prepared for those who trust in you, in the presence of the sons of men." Remember, Messiah said, if we're ashamed of him before man, he will be ashamed before the Father of us. So, there's so many people trying to cut through the line and try to disrupt the natural spirit. I shouldn't say natural, because the earth is natural, but the spiritual dimension of things, the spiritual reality of things. Just behave yourself. Be good. Be tov. Is that really that difficult for you? You need a complete makeover. You need a complete makeover. And we all do. It's a case of whether we had it done, are having it done, or will have it done. And if we're taking this seriously, we better get this under our belt and in the past tense. And speaking of past tense, we're past tense now. We live in bungalows. Okay, never mind that. The sons of men. I'll be ashamed of you. Okay. You shall hide them in the secret place of your presence from the plots of men. And again, that has a lot to do with what the gospel of Matthew 24, when it talks about persecution. It's going to be coming from those who think that they're Christians, quote unquote Christians, and they will persecute us. They will be the chief tool of the adversary. In fact, those who are preaching a false gospel of arrogance and presumption, and with no power of their own, they're given their power from the adversary. So you shall hide them in the secret place of your presence from the plots of men, because they have no access to the presence. So when we're in the presence of the Most High, they have no idea where that is. You shall keep them secretly in the pavilion from the strife of tongues. accusations, false accusations. Psalm 140, verse 13. Surely the righteous shall give thanks to your name, your teaching, your authority. The upright shall dwell in your presence, before your faces. We shall dwell before him. And if we had that attitude that we will dwell with him, we'd make sure that we keep our dwellings clean. We'd make sure that we're to be seen doing right, as well as doing right in the secret places. Psalm 51, 9-11. Hide your face from my sins and blot out all my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, lev tahor, not a lev tamai, which is an unclean heart, but a clean, pure heart, pure. O Elohim, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Ruach HaKodesh from me. Do not cast me away from your presence. You're dismissed. What did I do? What did you do? Here's a list. What didn't you do? There's another list. So again, it's as Michael was talking about, commandments of to do and don't do. We have to make sure that we're on the right side of the fence on this. Make sure that we're doing. And again, the false believers who accuse us of Judaizing or be legalistic will say, well, you're trying by your own efforts to do X, Y, and Z, and we're not. We're doing what we've been told to do. You know, it's like in school, you know, the bullies and those who were always getting in trouble would hate the kids that were doing right and getting hundreds and doing well, right? Who the teachers liked. You know, they would hate that. We hate to be reminded how bad we are, you know, by somebody who does right. But the Lord said, in your communities, there will be those who will cause divisions, who will cause disruptions. And it's only through that way that we will sift out the lambs from the goats. Okay, Psalm 100, 1 and 2. Make a joyful noise, shout. Make a joyful noise to Yahuwah, all ye lands. Serve the eternal Yah with gladness, and come before his presence with singing. So we rejoice to be in his presence. It's expressed through song, expressed with our ability to make music to him, to sing and shout his praise. Make a joyful noise. Revelation 22, 3 and 4. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. They shall see his face, and his name shall be on their foreheads. Again, that's what the phylacteries were representing. And it's ironic that the mark of the beast would also be here and on the right arm, just as the phylacteries would show symbolically of our thinking, our inner vision, if you will, and our hand represents the works of our hands, the extension, the doers of the commandments, not just the hearers only, but the doers. Then they shall see his face, and his name shall be on their foreheads. Deuteronomy 4:37b. He brought you out of Egypt, Mitzrayim. And interesting, the word Mitzrayim refers to confinement, a narrow place of restriction. So we're confined literally by the concept of Mitzrayim. He brought you up out of Egypt with his presence. His faces delivered us with his mighty power, with his presence. His presence in our lives will allow us to leave these constrictive places, these places that are narrow and confined and limited, because we're all still in Egypt to a certain extent. In this world, we are still in Mitzrayim because we're only allowed to do certain things. And a lot of us in our minds, we never left Egypt. We're still slaves to sin. We're still slaves to religion. We're still slaves to selfishness and inactivity and foolishness. So get out of Egypt. His presence will deliver you. His faces will deliver you. On the wings of eagles. Acts 3, verse 19. Repent, therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, so the times of refreshing may come from the presence of Yahweh. And I know there's a lot of people who don't like the word converted because we're reminded of the forced conversions of Jews by the false Vatican indoctrinated folk who murdered, the Holy Roman Empire murdered more believers than pagan Rome did by a large amount, and a lot of them sanctioned by the popes that have been murderous leaders and blind guides. Terrible stuff. But converted means you change. You change. Be changed. Converted. Your mind, repent. Changing of the mind. That your sins may be blotted out. If we're not converted, the sins are not blotted out. Will be blotted out of the book of life. But once we get those sins out of the way, we can receive the times of refreshing, where we can have access to the presence. You see that? Times of refreshing. How wonderful is that? Sounds so good. We go to the short letter of Jude, Yehuda, and it's a powerful, powerful letter, having a lot of heavy-duty doctrine in there. Now to him who is able to keep you from stumbling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to Elohim our Savior, who alone is wise, be glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both now and forever. Amen. Pretty clear. We need to be presented faultless, whole, perfected, clear-faced, open-faced before him, not duplicitous, not false. And we as a people must do an about-face by repenting and no longer be two-faced where doubts linger and then we become double-minded. And we must not lose face, which is to lose all sense of dignity and propriety. So we need to be clear-faced before him, that there's no obstructions, there's no thing there. As we read, started from the portion of Shemot, above all, you shall keep my Shabbatot, my Sabbaths, for it is a sign between you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the eternal Yahweh who sanctifies you, that you may keep it and develop that link. It is a sign between us. It is a sign of sincerity. It's a wedding band. It's a wedding band, It's a wedding band of our faithfulness. It's a sign of our faithfulness to keep Shabbat Kadosh holy by living as we should be living. So we need to change our legacy. Okay, we need to shine and make Yahuwah to cause his face to shine upon us in full acceptance and approval, and that he would grant us admittance into his kingdom, that he would bid us a warm, loving welcome into his presence. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? The thoughts, what the scriptures lead us to understand. As water reflects the face, so a man's heart reflects the man. And let people see Yahuwah when they see us. How's that for a goal? So when people look at us, they look into the face of Yahuwah. I remember there was a song, so Michael W. Smith and Amy Grant, My Father's Eyes, would let us have that trait, that familial connection. When you see a friend, when you see him with his parents, oh, yeah, you look just like your dad. You look just like your dad or your mom, or a mix in between. But let people, when they see us, see the Father. May we have our Father's eyes. May we have that distinct perspective, this unique perspective that only he has, and he desires for us to share the view. It's like you're standing with your family and you see the Grand Canyon before you, and your kids are with their gadgets and their cell phones. Say, hey, come here. I want to show you something. Look at this. Share the view with me. Share the view. We need to be eager to share the view with our Heavenly Father. Share what he has to show us. Show us, Father. Show us what we need to know, what we need to do, how we need to grow. And again, I pray that that these words of our teachings matter to you, and to some, I sense they are. They're challenging. Some people just reject this stuff. They do. They're either saying we're Judaizing, we're legalists, and it is Yah who I'm serving. And the way that he says to do it is not just is not in any way to elevate myself, but it's what he wants from us. He wants to know that he can trust us, and we should want the things that he wants, the things that please him. We should be encouraged to do. We should be enthusiastically doing it, not saying, "Well, no, I'm not going to do that." Read the word, cover to cover. Read the word, and a lot of people do that as a robot. Speed reading. Remember Evelyn Wood's speed reading, where you used to read really fast and you would try to comprehend things. But beautiful poetry, you can't do that. Spiritual matters revealed in the word need to be enjoyed as a banquet, not as fast food. You don't drive by the window and pick up stuff that you ordered looking into a clown's face. We need to be faithful, and he wants us to love him so much. Daddy is never as pleased as when his children seek to make him happy. They did their homework, they cleaned up their room, they brushed their teeth, that type of stuff. But we have our own things that we can do to please the Father, and we need to be eager to do these things. So let me just say a prayer at this time. Father, I thank you for your word, which is your greatest gift to mankind, Abba. That through your word we can come to know you, know your word, know your expectations of us, how we can just make assumptions. Well, I didn't do this, what have you done? To make me sovereign in your life, and those people who were just, anyway, I just pray, Father, that you would meet the need of your people, Abba, your unique, special, peculiar people, Abba. Those who you have a working relationship with, to be in the light as he is in the light, who have that desire to meet and to be echad with the teachings, to be echad with our future and our desire to be in your presence, Abba. I just pray this day, Father, because we talked about a lot of different things, about the faces, the four faces, and that we would seek your face, seek to be in your presence this day, Father, and that we would be open-faced, we would be honest and honorable people, and not bring disrepute to you, that we would be faithful. Be faithful, Father. And I pray that you would meet the needs of your people. We pray against any disease, and the physical diseases of coronavirus, or the spiritual disease of errant teachings based on traditions of man and foolish and selfish interpretations. We're just grateful this day, Father, for all that you do. And you just give, and you give, and you give. And help us, Abba, to receive from you and to give also. Help us to be givers, to be doers, hearers, but doers also. And we pray for each family that's out there, Abba. We thank you so much for them, and we give you praise this day. For all things, we give you thanks for your Shabbat, for your teachings, Abba, which are an integral part of Shabbat, Abba. That we would share your perspective, share your view, and share your ways, Abba. We give you thanks this day for all things in Yeshua's name. Amen. Amen. So here's the time of where we give you opportunity to contact us. Besides leaving comments here, we are Beth Tefilah Messianic Congregation. I got that sign behind me there. Beth Tefilah Messianic Congregation, Inc. P.O. Box 170384, 170384, Ozone Park, New York, 11417. Our email address is milkakkorn@aol.com. You see my phone number there. That's my home Phone number, that's right here. You got a telephone right here. You want to talk? You want to talk? I'll listen. We'll talk. Because we got a lot to learn from each other. And I just pray that we remain teachable. Let us be teachable. Let us encourage people to be teachable. We haven't, there's still a lot of bricks to be built into this holy temple. So we give thanks to the Most High. Thank you, Abba. And, okay. So at this point, we will read the 10 words. Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 5. We occasionally change it up and go to Shemot chapter 20. But we've been reading from Deuteronomy 5, Devarim 5. The Devarim is in Devarim. The words is in the book of the words. Starting with verse 1. And Moshe called all Yisrael and said to them, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgment which I speak in your hearing today, that you may learn them and be careful to observe them, keep them, guard them. It's the same word, Shemar. Yahuwah, our Elohim, made a covenant with us at Horeb. Yahuwah did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, those who are here today, all of us who are alive. Remember, Elohim is the El of the living, not of the dead. He builds relationships in the here and now. They have eternal consequences, but the here and now. A lot of people have their eyes focused on the pie in the sky, and they got to live for today as well as living for the future. We're investing for the future, but we have to live now. We have to bring home groceries today for our families, right? So we need to have the bread of life always distributed among those who are here with us today. Okay? Yahuwah talked with you face to face. Here we go. That was Mashiach, the pre-incarnate Mashiach. On the mountain from the midst of the fire, I stood between and you at that time to declare to you the word of Yahuwah. For you were afraid because of the fire. You did not go up the mountain. He said, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the confining place, constrictive like a serpent, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim beside me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah, your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing mercy to the thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. And again, mercy to third and fourth generations. That's what happened literally with Judah, where they were sent to Babylon. So whereas the son and the grandson, the great-grandson, were not specifically responsible for the act of the father, they went into captivity too. So that's what it's talking about there too, about the captivity. And we need to break generational sins and restrictions. Anyway, I'm sorry. Continuing. You shall not take the name of Yahuwah your Elohim in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vanity. Observe the Shabbat day to guard it as holy, as Yahuwah your Elohim commanded you. 6 days you may labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of Yahuwah your Elohim. In it you shall do no work. You nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor the stranger who is within your gates, that your male servant and your female servant may rest and cease from all activities, contrariwise, as well as for you. And remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Yahuwah your Elohim brought you out from there by mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, Yahuwah your Elohim commanded you to guard the Shabbat day. Honor your father and your mother, as Yahuwah your Elohim has commanded you, that your days may be long and that it may be well with you in the land which Yahuwah your Elohim has given you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not desire your neighbor's house, his field, his male servant, his female servant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. And these words Yahweh spoke to all your assembly in the mountain, in the midst of the fire, the cloud, and the thick darkness, with a loud voice. And he added no more. Don't go beyond what is written. He added no more. And he wrote them on the 2 tablets of stone and gave them to me. Amen. Amen. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Amen. The word eternal. It's a beautiful thing. It's wonderful. Let us be strong. Let us develop the stamina that we're going to need in the days ahead. Because while some are waiting to be evacuated, others are training. Others are training to be able to withstand temptations, to be able to be in the hidden places of the Most High, in His presence, to be in His presence. So, thank you, Father. Amen. So we give thanks this day. And we conclude our Torah portion here. This is the Torah which Moshe placed before the children of Israel. It is in accord with the Lord's command, Yahweh's command, by the hand of Moshe. And it is a tree of life for those who take hold of it. Blessed are the ones who support it. Its ways are ways of pleasantness. All its paths are peace. Long life is in its right hand, and its left are riches and honor. The eternal Yahweh was pleased for the sake of his righteousness to render Torah great and glorious.
Amen.
When the ark rested, Moshe would say, "Return, O eternal Yah, to the myriads of Israel's families. Arise, O Yahweh, to your resting place, you and your mighty ark. Clothe your priests with righteousness, and may those who have experienced your faithful love shout for joy."
Amen.
Amen. For the sake of your servant David, don't delay the return of your Messiah. I give you good instruction. Do not forsake my Torah. Amen.
Amen.
Do not forsake my Torah. Be teachable. We must be teachable. We absolutely must be teachable. It's a lot to learn. You got it all figured out. Congratulations. Even Yochanan still had some things to figure out. It's not yet been revealed to us what we shall become. So, got a lot to learn, people. And we have to have a good pattern, even as the tabernacle was built according to the pattern. See that you build it according to the pattern. Build your life according to the pattern that's been shown to us through His Word. It's essential that we do this. And again, we've assembled on this day to hear the Word, Torah, and to stop from being foolish, from being evil, from missing out on all the things that the eternal Yah has for us. And I don't want to miss a thing, okay? Amen. So here we come to the conclusion. And we said this at the beginning of my message. Now I say it again at its proper place, the conclusion, the benediction. May the eternal Yahweh bless you and keep you. Excuse me. May He make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. And this is the Shalom, Shalom, the perfect peace that surpasses our understanding, to guard our hearts and our minds. In Messiah Yeshua. Amen. Yivarechech Yahuwah vayishabarecha. Yair Yahuwah panav elecha vehunecha. Yisa Yahuwah panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shabbat shalom. I thank you again for being with us. There's so many who are apparently watching. I don't even know who you are. Introduce yourself. You got our phone number. You got our way of communicating to us. You got our email address, milkakorn. A lot of ways to touch base. Hey, listen, guy, you're way off base. I totally disagree with you. Okay, but you're watching. you're watching anyway, come talk with me, talk with us. And we seek to communicate with you these things. We're not here to make money. We're not here to, for any other reason than to teach what we've learned, and we're continuing to learn. As Michael mentioned, this subject that he's still working on, still focusing on and learning. So help us to continue to grow. Tell people about us. If you're really getting blessed by this, and I'm trying to really chock full. I mean, the thing about the four faces, that's something that I thought was kind of a fun element to put into this thing about the face. And the pineal gland, Peniel, the same word as the place where Yaakov became Israel, and he saw Elohim face to face through Messiah, the Malach Yahuwah. So there's a lot of, I'm trying to put some fun things in there too for you to be blessed by, and tell people about it. And again, this is number 24. This is 24. So again, when you're looking at YouTube, look at 24. This is 24. And in 2 more weeks, we're halfway through the year. Again, this is the third week, third Sabbath, counting up to Shavuot. Eventually, we're going to hit that. And the 7th Sabbath will have special mention of Shavuot as well as the 6th. We'll prepare you for that. So again, we thank you for being with us. And we just pray that you stay safe, you stay focused. And even as we're starting to reopen and reconnect, that we do so safely, and whether you believe that we overreacted or underreacted or conspiracies or whatever, you've had a chance to take a break. And as you were home, I hope you used the time to read, to pray, to study, as I have. Anyway, so be strong and be faithful, and be long. Amen.
Amen.
So, okay.
The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. And give you peace. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. And be gracious unto you. And be gracious. The Lord be gracious. Gracious unto you.
Amen. Amen. And again, Shabbat Shalom. And again, remember that you take this day with you for the rest of the week until we come together again. And again, let people know you're doing us a big favor if you do. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom. Be well.
Shabbat Shalom.
We love you and we pray for you. Thank you. Toda Rabah.